Chapter 36:19. At this moment, Peng Lang had arrived late. It was not intentional, but when he found out that his sect's disciple had been killed, he had rushed over without stopping. He wanted to see just who dared to provoke him. Even if it was someone from the Mountain and Sea sect who participated in the groom search competition, they would definitely not dare to kill a genius disciple of his 8 Extreme sect. Otherwise, wouldn't he, the sect master of the 8 Extreme sect, exist in name only? No matter what, my disciple died in your Mountain and Sea sect. I originally wanted to come and punish you, but now it seems that there's no need for that. Then, Peng Lang's eyes gradually turned cold. Liao Yunsheng and the Mountain and Sea sect were no longer worthy of his attention. The person he had to face now was Jiang Chen, who was already on his last breath and could die at any time. You killed a disciple of my Baji sect. Today you must die. Peng Lang said arrogantly, as if he did not intend to give Jiang Chen any chance. His strength was also at the level of Shangguan Hongyan and the others, which was why he dared to speak so arrogantly. However, although Jiang Chen was already an arrow at the end of its flight, the Thunder God Guard and Dragon Rider Heavenly Guard were very difficult to deal with. Let's see how long you can last with these puppets. Peng Lang roared, ready to strike at any time to knock down Jiang Chen. These puppets are extraordinary. Why don't we leave them to Sect Master Peng? Leave the matter of killing Jiang Chen to me. Another silhouette appeared in the void. That silhouette was very familiar to Jiang Chen. It was Jun Tianqiu. His mortal enemy had escaped from his hands several times. This time, even he was not willing to let go of such an opportunity. Behind him, 5 mid-divine emperor experts stood on the left and right, glaring at Jiang Chen. The new patriarch of the Jun family, Jun Tianqiu. Sect Master Peng, Mountain Lord Liao, Grand Master Shangguan, I pay my respects. Jun Tianqiu smiled, confident and calm. At this moment, he was the current head of the Jun family. His strength and status were not to be underestimated. Peng Lang and the others nodded slightly. The Jun family was also a powerful force. How many more people had Jiang Chen offended? Jun Tianqiu, even you're here. It seems you've run away every time. Is your memory that bad? You still dare to come and seek death? Jiang Chen sneered. You're about to die, yet you're still so stubborn. Do you still have the strength to fight? Ha ha ha, do you think your puppet can protect you for the rest of your life? Jun Tianqiu laughed wildly. The sect master of the Baji sect was enough to deal with these puppets. As long as he killed Jiang Chen, it would be a great achievement. In the future, he would become famous in the entire central region Divine Land. Although there was some suspicion of taking advantage of Jiang Chen, Jun Tianqiu had already done anything to kill Jiang Chen. He had suffered several defeats in Jiang Chen's hands. If he allowed this to continue, his days in the future would not be easy. At this moment, this opportunity could not be missed. All right then, Jun family head. I'll leave it to you to kill this fiend. Leave these puppets to me. It shouldn't be too difficult to kill someone who doesn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Peng Lang darted a glance at Jun Tianqiu. The current Jiang Chen didn't have the strength to fight back at all. Therefore, killing Jiang Chen would be as easy as crushing an ant. I won't fulfill Sect Master Liao's request. Everyone, don't worry. Jiang Chen and I are mortal enemies. We can't live under the same sky. I'll definitely tear him to pieces. The enmity between Jun Tianqiu and Jiang Chen wasn't just a matter of a day or two. It could be said that it had crossed Saint Origin World, 9 Regions Immortal World, and the Divine World. Finally it had come to an end. Only one of them could live. Only one of them could live. Jiang Chen silently watched the scene and took a deep breath. It was difficult for him to control the battle of life and death. He could only hope that the Thunder God Guardians and the Dragon Riders' Heavenly Guards could withstand their attacks. Jun Tianqiu's strength had already reached the peak mid-divine emperor realm. He couldn't be underestimated. Moreover, the 4 great elders of the Jun family were also mid-divine emperors. As long as Peng Lang could withstand the attacks of the Thunder God Guardians, Jiang Chen's situation wouldn't be easy. Ha ha ha, what a gathering of heroes. I hope I'm not late. Everyone, I'm the patriarch of the Battle God clan, Do Yukuan. I'm here for the same goal as everyone else. As long as I can kill Jiang Chen, I, Do Yukuan, will be satisfied. Ha! A white-haired old man slowly walked over. At this moment, The entire mountain and sea sect had become a grand gathering place. Without exception, these people were all enemies of Jiang Chen. Each of them wanted to kill Jiang Chen. The Battle God clan. It was closely related to Jiang Chen. Moreover, his Dou formation technique came from the Battle God clan. Jiang Chen's Dou formation technique was the supreme treasure of the Battle God clan. In the hands of Jiang Chen, countless experts of the Battle God clan had wanted to kill Jiang Chen. However, they had all failed. Today, the patriarch of the Battle God clan, Dou Zhaoning, had personally taken action, which was enough to give Jiang Chen face. The mountain and sea sect had become the gathering place of Jiang Chen's enemies. The Battle God clan, the Jun family, and the 8 Extreme sect had once again surrounded Jiang Chen. This was like an endless loop, and Jiang Chen had once again fallen into a desperate situation. All the experts had gathered, and all of them wanted to fight to the death with Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen's expression was solemn. So many people were already filled with killing intent towards him, and were ready to fight to the death at any time. He had never thought that his battle with the mountain and sea sect would actually alarm so many experts. It was simply a cycle of life and death, and his life was hanging by a thread. All the heroes have gathered here to fight for supremacy. It seems like the entire mountain and sea sect is truly honored today. If I can kill Jiang Chen, I, Liao Yunxing, will definitely be grateful to all the venerables. Liao Yunxing's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. His gaze was focused on Jiang Chen, and he wanted nothing more than to eat his flesh. Even if he were to turn Jiang Chen's bones into ashes, it would not be enough to express the anger and sorrow in his heart. Ha ha ha, Mountain Lord Liao is too courteous. This Jiang Chen is our common enemy, and he deserves to die. In today's battle, he has nowhere to go, and will definitely die. Dou Zhaoning laughed. Everyone nodded slightly. They had the same goal, although they each had their own ulterior motives. Some wanted to kill Jiang Chen, while others wanted to obtain the inheritance of the God of Crafts. But now, as long as they killed Jiang Chen, everything would be fine. The fear that this fellow brought them was too great. Chapter 36:20. Even if I, Jiang Chen, die, I won't yield. You bastards. Come at me if you have the ability. As long as I, Jiang Chen, am still breathing, you won't be able to make me yield. Jiang Chen pointed his sword at the sky. Although he didn't have the strength to fight anymore, his Lightning God Squad and Dragon Rider Heavenly Guards were still very powerful. You don't know the meaning of death. I'll show you the true terror of Dongzhou's experts, Peng Lang roared. Peng Lang roared furiously. His momentum had already reached the 9 Thunder God Guardians. As the master of the Baji sect, Peng Lang's strength was on par with Shangguan Hongyan's. He was at his peak, so it wasn't a problem for him to face the 9 Thunder God Guardians and the Dragon Rider Heavenly Guards. His bearing of an expert was fully displayed. His combat intent soared to the sky. Each of his punches tore a mountain apart. Even Dou Zhaoning and Jun Tianqiu were shocked by Peng Lang's terror. At this moment, they didn't dare to be negligent. With Peng Lang blocking Jiang Chen's Lightning God Squad, Jun Tianqiu and Dou Zhaoning's target was Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen was dead, so those puppets definitely didn't have the slightest strength to fight anymore. I'll leave the task of killing Jiang Chen to you. I can deal with these puppets alone. Peng Lang said proudly. He blocked the attacks of the Lightning God Guards and the Dragon Rider Heavenly Guards with ease. At this moment, Peng Lang had become the last expert who had the power to kill Jiang Chen, because he had blocked Jiang Chen's last line of defense, his last chance of survival. Now, if you kneel and beg for mercy, I'll leave your corpse intact. How about it? Is this a good deal? Jun Tianqiu looked coldly at Jiang Chen. This kind of person deserves to die. His survival is the greatest insult to the world. Die, Jiang Chen. Dou Zhaoning didn't waste any time talking nonsense with Jiang Chen. He went straight to Jiang Chen. Jun Tianqiu frowned. He wanted to make fun of Jiang Chen and then kill him. However, Dou Zhaoning seemed impatient and didn't want to waste time talking nonsense with Jiang Chen. Jun Tianqiu had no choice but to join forces with Dou Zhaoning. Jiang Chen's pupils constricted, and he immediately slashed out with his sword, exhausting the last of his energy. However, he still wasn't able to repel the two of them, only slow them down a bit. You're courting death. Scram. A sudden clap of thunder descended from the sky as a figure in a golden robe landed in front of Jiang Chen, holding the demon defending boulder in his hand. His aura was unparalleled, as if it could devour the heavens. Although his strength was on par with Jun Tianqiu's, he was able to force both Dou Zhaoning and Jun Tianqiu to retreat. Shangguan Hongyan and the others' faces became solemn once again. Ba. Motherfucker. How dare you touch my brother? It seems like you're tired of living, Tyrant said indifferently. Tyrant said with an indifferent tone. His expression was calm as he strolled around leisurely. He gave Jiang Chen a meaningful look. A calm smile emerged on Jiang Chen's face. With Tyrant's arrival, he felt much more at ease. This guy's strength had also improved by leaps and bounds. Peak mid-divine emperor realm wasn't something that an ordinary person could control. With the demon-defending boulder in his hand, Tyrant's aura was unstoppable. Jun Tianqiu and Dou Zhaoning glanced at each other. No one dared to underestimate Tyrant. Little Chenzi, I didn't expect you to be in such a difficult situation. Today, it's time for me to show my skills, right? Ha! Tyrant's face was gloomy. It was impossible for Jun Tianqiu and Dou Zhaoning to kill Jiang Chen. Without any hesitation, he launched a life-and-death battle. With the demon-defending boulder in his hand, he was unstoppable. Both Jun Tianqiu and Dou Zhaoning were extremely solemn. Tyrant displayed his might, as if he wanted to show off in front of Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen smiled helplessly. He didn't expect this guy to have such thoughts. But it's good that he's here. I finally have a chance to live. Even the Ashura sword formation had been fully displayed. The current Jiang Chen no longer had any means to fight. It could be said that Tyrant had pulled him back from the gates of hell. It's time to show my true strength. If you can do it, then do it. Jiang Chen crossed his arms in front of his chest. Tyrant had now shouldered a heavy responsibility, and that was to protect Jiang Chen. As long as he was here, no one would be able to harm his brother unless he died. Tyrant smiled. The terror of the demon-defending boulder gave Dou Zhaoning and Jun Tianqiu a great deal of pressure. Each of his moves was bitingly cold, forcing them to retreat. 6-star battle formation technique. Encirclement formation technique. Dou Zhaoning raised his hand and locked down the sky encirclement formation. With the support of the 6 stars battle formation technique, it instantly trapped Tyrant within. Tyrant let out a furious roar. He was like a primordial beast that came from a prehistoric world. The demon-suppressing monument's might was unparalleled as it smashed down, resisting the sky encirclement formations. Hurry up, I can't hold on for long. Dou Zhaoning shouted, looking at Jun Tianqiu. Gentleman's sword. Gentleman of a lifetime. Jun Tianqiu unsheathed his sword, but he was still no match for Tyrant. With a heavy blow from Tyrant, the demon-defending boulder shattered the layers of space, completely destroying the encirclement formation technique. Tyrant charged forward like a hot knife through butter, putting Jun Tianqiu and Dou Zhaoning in a difficult position. Too weak. Is there anyone stronger than you? Haha, the head of the Jun family and the patriarch of the Battle God clan are just so. It seems like you are no match for me, Tyrant. Trash, truly trash. Tyrant laughed wildly. He had the absolute initiative and was awe-inspiring. At this moment, Peng Lang was completely stuck by the Thunder God guards. He wanted to attack Tyrant, but there was nothing he could do. You're courting death. Peng Lang squinted his eyes. If he was the one to attack, he would definitely suppress this reckless bastard. Unfortunately, they were being suppressed by Tyrant. It was simply humiliating. Damn it, he actually has such a helper. Dou Zhaoning felt bitter. This monk with the demon-defending boulder was really terrifying. He had put him and Jun Tianqiu in a passive position, and their lives could be in danger at any time. A centipede dies, but it doesn't fall down. Today, I'll see when you'll die. Jiang Chen. A man and a woman slowly walked over. Their strength was also as strong as Tyrant's, and their auras were fully displayed. Yun Guyao. Jiang Chen frowned. This venomous woman and her henchman Hao Yunhang. These two fellas are here too. Jiang Chen, you deserve to die. It's just that you're too arrogant and look down on everyone. Do you really think you can compete with all of us? Who do you think you are? Today, my Buddha pagoda will come to take your life. Chapter 36-21. Everyone present came to a sudden realization. It turned out that this man and woman were actually disciples of the Buddha pagoda. You killed Ba Chao Yuan, so the Vajra Pagoda Hall will definitely not let you off. Hence, I'm only here today to give you a lesson. Yun Gayao smiled faintly. Although her beauty was unparalleled, her heart was as vicious as a scorpion's. This woman was definitely not easy to deal with. Those who should have come, and those who shouldn't have come, have also come. Isn't your goal to kill me? Unfortunately, none of you can kill me. Am I not still alive and well here? Jiang Chen said coldly. There were more than 10 million people who wanted to kill him. Along the way, Jiang Chen had taken each step carefully in the divine world, but he had still made countless enemies in the end. Those experts had gathered here, and their goal couldn't be more obvious. They wanted him to bow down and vent the hatred in their hearts. You are indeed very strong, but it's a pity that you have made too many enemies. There are more than 1,000 people who want your life, Yun Gayao said indifferently. She seemed to sigh for Jiang Chen. However, at this moment, she had joined forces with Hao Yun Hang, and their goal was clear. Ba Chao Yuan's death was your biggest mistake. The Buddha Pagoda is not something you can afford to offend. Jiang Chen saw Yun Gayao's disdain, but to Jiang Chen, not even the God of Heaven could order him around, let alone the Buddha Pagoda. At this moment, Jiang Chen would rather make millions of people his enemy than regret it. For my brother and the woman I love, even if there are millions of people, I will still go forward. For the sake of my brothers, for the sake of my beloved woman, I, Jiang Chen, am not a man who is afraid of death. Perhaps death is scary to you, but I don't care about it anymore. After so many years, I, Jiang Chen, have died more than 800 times. Unfortunately, none of you have been able to make me turn into ashes, never to be reincarnated. Today none of you can. With me here, no one can touch a single hair on Jiang Chen's head. Monk Tyrant waved the demon-suppressing monument. Yun Gayao, Hao Yun Hang, Jun Tianchou, and Do Zhaning watched him silently. They knew that only by killing Tyrant, the first line of defense, would they have a chance of killing Jiang Chen. Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll send you to the Western Paradise to pay your respects to Buddha. Hao Yun Hang's fist wind surged as he took the lead. The four of them were evenly matched as they surrounded Tyrant. Every single one of these four people were the cream of the crop. They were monstrous geniuses of the Central Region Divine Land. They were famous and had great influence. Tyrant was also very serious. It was not easy to fight against them. He had to give it his all. Heaven's twin fists. Hao Yun Hang's fist wind surged and tore through the sky. Mountain peaks were broken, sand and stones were sent flying. The mountain and sea sect was already in a mess. The four of them did not distinguish between each other. The enemy of an enemy was a friend. Moreover, with the addition of the two experts from the Buddhist pagoda, the strength of the four of them had completely crushed Tyrant. Even with the demon-suppressing monument in hand, Tyrant was forced to retreat step by step. If you want to kill Jiang Chen, you'll have to step over my body. Roar! Tyrant roared in grief and indignation. He was not afraid of death. Jiang Chen's life was as important as his own. Buddha's light illumination. Tyrant was furious. He was fighting 1 against 4, but his strength was limited. It was not that he was not strong enough but that these people were too weak. Tyrant was unable to do anything under the repeated attacks. On the contrary, he was in a worrying situation as he was heavily injured. The demon-suppressing monument was suppressing one of them, but the other 3 were like ferocious beasts. He was unable to withstand them and was overwhelmed. For the sake of the little Chenzi, I will not fall. Tyrant gritted his teeth, and his face turned pale. However, he still refused to retreat, because Jiang Chen was standing behind him. He no longer had the strength to continue fighting, and if he lost, all of his brothers would die here. Tyrant's face turned pale. Watch my sword. Sword chi crisscrossed as it streaked across the sky. A peerless demonic figure descended from the sky and filled the void. 100 feet tall demonic figure continued to rise and burn. Black demonic aura surged as it descended, as if the entire sky had fallen into the darkness of hell. Yun Gayao and the others immediately raised their heads to look. Jiang Chen and Tyrant were both overjoyed. I fucking thought you were dead, Tyrant said excitedly. He pointed at the demonic shadow in the void, his heart surging. Yan. Jiang Chen stared at the void, his heart filled with mixed feelings. At this moment, he was on the verge of death. The monk was not afraid of death, and Jiang Chen helped him in his hour of need. Jiang Chen did not care so much about his senior and junior brothers. They had gone through thick and thin together. If you don't die, I won't die in front of you. Ha! That hundreds of feet tall demonic shadow laughed crazily. It held a shocking giant sword in its hand, which shone with cold light and was filled with demonic chi. Soul-devouring demon-sealing sword. Han Yen held the demon's sword. The clear sky was filled with layers of demonic shadows. When the sword fell, it swallowed the sky. Even the soul suffered heavy injuries. The soul-devouring demon-sealing sword sealed the 9 heavens. Demonic shadows filled the air. Under the cooperation of Han Yen and Tyrant, they instantly turned defeat into victory, forcing Yun Gayao and the others to retreat. What a familiar demonic shadow in the sky. Shangguan Hongyan frowned, as if she was lost in her memories. However, this demonic shadow in the sky was really terrifying. The soul-devouring demon-sealing sword swept through the 14 prefectures, and demonic chi spread across 800 miles. What a good Jiang Chen! Are all his brothers so monstrous? Peng Lang was furious, but that demonic shadow in the sky also seemed to make him rather fearful. These fellows are not easy to deal with. Liao Yunsheng was full of emotions. Countless enemies of Jiang Chen had come together, and the experts had gathered. However, the final result was still not satisfactory. Jiang Chen's 2 helpers were not to be underestimated. They were completely suppressed. One held the demon-suppressing tablet, and the divine tablet was peerless, suppressing them. The other was a monstrous demonic shadow that swept across the void. It was unparalleled, and it made people's hearts tremble. 9 Revolutions Zither music. Yun Gayao played the zither, and the sound of the zither carried endless terrifying soul attacks. However, in the end it was useless against the 2. One's heart was as calm as still water, and the other was filled with demonic flames. It couldn't shake the foundation of their souls at all. On the contrary, Yun Gayao was illuminated by Tyrant's Buddha light, and she was forced back. Blood spurted out, and she suffered serious internal injuries. Jiang Chen looked at Han Yen and Tyrant, and his heart was filled with emotions. A man had to protect the land under his feet, his parents at home, the woman in his arms, and the brothers by his side. Without brothers, there would be no battle. Chapter 36-22. Han Yen and Tyrant's joint attack was unstoppable. Even with Peng Lang's help, he was still unable to force Han Yan's demonic shadow to retreat. Both of them pressed forward with indomitable will. Even though they had the absolute advantage, they did not dare to be careless. If anything unforeseen happened, they might become a burden to Jiang Chen. Not only would they not be able to save Jiang Chen, but they might also be defeated by their opponents. Han Yen, your demonic shadow is not bad. Let's see who can defeat their opponent first. Ha! Tyrant looked at Han Yen and said with a laugh. There was a hint of indignation in his eyes, as if he wanted to compete with Han Yen. Han Yen said coldly, I'm not a match for little Chinzi. Could it be that I can't even defeat a stinky monk like you? Han Yan's indifference made Tyrant even angrier. When a tiger doesn't show its might, do you think I'm a sick cat? Today, let's compete and see who can defeat our opponent. If I can't make you submit, I will have wasted all these years. The 2 of them did not give in to each other. They used all their skills and fought a life-or-death battle with Yun Gayao, Dou Zhaning, and the others. Their momentum was like a rainbow. The demonic shadow and the god-suppressing monument constantly clashed. Shangguan Hongyan and the others were extremely shocked. Jiang Chen's 2 helpers made Peng Lang and the others complain incessantly. I didn't expect this guy to have such brothers. All of them have extraordinary skills. Shangguan Hongyan furrowed his brows tightly, his expression incomparably cold. The current situation was not good for them. Shangguan Hongyan no longer had any strength left, and could only watch on silently. The reason why he did not leave was because he was unwilling to give up just like that. If he did not get a share of the spoils, then everything he had done would have been for naught. I've heard of that monk. It is said that he has caused quite a commotion in the West Pole Divine region. He is said to be the reincarnation of a living Buddha, but I don't know if it's true, Liao Yunsheng said with lingering fear. Liao Yunsheng said with lingering fear in his heart. This tyrant had an extraordinary background, and his strength was shocking. He was also extremely difficult to deal with. It's fine that this Jiang Chen is so strong, but his 2 friends are also super freaks. Liao Yunsheng could be said to be filled with malice towards Jiang Chen. After all, the mountain and sea sect was destroyed in Jiang Chen's hands. This deep hatred, even if he killed Jiang Chen 100 times, it would not be enough to quell the anger in his heart. I hope Sect Master Peng can give them a fatal blow. Shangguan Hongyan sighed and murmured in a low voice. This was Shangguan Hongyan's last hope. Regardless of whether it was that monstrous devil shadow or tyrant, both were not easy to deal with. Peng Lang led Yun Gayao and the others, and they once again began their frenzied campaign. Leave these puppets to me. I'll set up a formation to trap them. Dou Zhanying's eyes were sharp. Although the Lightning God Guardian Squad and the Dragon Rider Heavenly Guards were puppets, their strength was extremely terrifying. Even the sect master of the 8 Extreme sect was entangled by them. However, Dou Zhanying should be able to contend with them by relying on the formation. Jiang Chen stared at his 2 brothers. His heart was filled with emotions. Previously, he had consumed too much of his strength, causing him to be unable to recover in a short period of time. Even with the help of the myriad chi body, it was just a drop in the bucket. It's up to you 2 now. Jiang Chen smiled faintly, but it was extremely bitter. Not being able to fight alongside them was the only pain in his heart. 2 reckless fellas. Let me show you what a true expert is. Peng Lang roared in anger. A great perfection late divine emperor was stronger than anyone present. Shangguan Hongyan and Liao Yunsheng looked at each other. They had been waiting for this moment. Even if these 2 fellas had caught up and possessed extraordinary strength, they would not be able to do anything under Peng Lang's crazy bombardment. 8 Extreme's fist. The power of Peng Lang's fist swept across the universe. It was like a rainbow as it rushed out, leading Yun Gayao, Jun Tianchou, and Hao Yunhang in an irresistible force. 10,000 Buddhas greeting. Tyrant roared in anger. Countless Buddha's hand seals rippled out. His entire body was covered in golden light, and his divine might was released. The Buddha's hand seals were shocking, but compared to Peng Lang's fist, they still seemed to be unable to cope. The Buddha's hand seals were constantly being pushed back, but at this moment, Han Yen also descended from the sky. The 2 of them complemented each other. They could not let Tyrant be the only one being beaten. Demonic flame tornado, I am the only one. The demonic shadow continued to roar, and the sound of the wind was heard. Demonic chi filled the air. Under the cooperation of Tyrant, they attacked, completely confronting Peng Lang without fear. Peng Lang immediately brandished his blade. Unstoppable. His punch collapsed all the mountain peaks within 1,000 miles, causing rocks to tumble down and avalanches to appear one after another. The entire area of the mountain and sea sect had long since changed beyond recognition. Han Yen and Tyrant looked at each other, both shocked. Not only did they retreat, they might not be afraid of Peng Lang alone, but Yun Gayao and the other 2 had already surrounded them from the side. They were in an extremely difficult situation. Being attacked from the front and the back, they were forced to retreat with every move. They did not even have a chance to breathe. Han Yen and Tyrant could only ensure that the situation was temporarily stabilized, but their situation was the most worrying. Bastard, 8 Extremes Gate. Jiang Chen gritted his teeth and said, but he could not help. At this point, he had only recovered 10% of his strength. Seeing that Han Yen and Tyrant were in a dangerous situation, Jiang Chen clenched his fists. He felt that he could not wait any longer. Even if he died, he wanted to die with his brother. Han Yen, let me show you my true strength. Tyrant sneered, and his cold gaze fell on Peng Lang and the others. All right, I'll be waiting. Han Yen spat out light, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. It was already quite difficult for him to hold on. He looked back at Jiang Chen. There was no need for words between brothers. Even if they had to hold on to their last bit of strength, they would not let anyone touch a single hair on Jiang Chen's head. If I didn't have some true strength, how could I have dominated the West Pole for so many years? Tyrant's body trembled, and a dazzling golden light appeared. An incomparably auspicious and overbearing aura rippled out from his body, as if it had spread across the land of the 9 provinces. It made one's mind calm, but it also made one feel a sense of worship. Jiang Chen also looked at Tyrant silently. It seemed that this guy had had many fortuitous encounters in the West Pole over the years. His strength had improved by leaps and bounds, and he was not any weaker than Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen did not think that he had the power of the profound sky realm. Only those who worked hard enough could live longer than others, and only those who worked hard enough could stand tall in the world. 9 generations of Buddha's light, cloud swallowing Sarira. Tyrant's body was covered with a myriad of Buddha's light as he charged forward. He held the cloud-swallowing Sarira in one hand, and the god-suppressing monument in the other. He was like a Buddha that shone brightly in the world, and he stood above the void of the 9 heavens. Chapter 36-23. It seems like the news from the West Pole Divine Continent is true. Is this guy really the reincarnation of a living Buddha? Liao Yunxing's face became more and more unsightly. Now, Tyrant was like a living Buddha. With a wave of his hand, golden light splashed out. He was not afraid of Peng Lang at all. The golden light and the fist shadows intertwined. Tyrant's aura became more and more unstoppable. Tyrant and Peng Lang were evenly matched. Han Yan was fighting 1 against 3, yet there was no clear victor. The battle between the two shook the sky once again. Golden light shot out in all directions, and the shadows of their fists intertwined. Tyrant's might was fully displayed once again. I heard that the monk came from the West Pole Divine Continent. Could it be that Tyrant who made the top 10 monasteries of the West Pole Divine Continent feel numb? Most likely. This guy is indeed Jiang Chen's brother. They are not easy to deal with. Jiang Chen caused chaos in the Central Region Divine Land, and that Tyrant shocked the entire West Pole Divine Continent. Both of them are troublesome. That's right. Who would have thought that Jiang Chen has such a great ability? Now, half of the Central Region Divine Land's forces have joined in. I wonder who will be the one laughing in the end. You guys have forgotten about that demonic man. He is also a very powerful character. I heard that not long ago, at the border between the Central Region Divine Land and the Nantung Divine Land, a peerless demon king's soul appeared. Maybe it's him. Someone sighed with emotion. These 3 brothers of Jiang Chen all possessed powerful skills. Although Jiang Chen didn't have the strength to fight anymore, Tyrant and Han Yan weren't people who could be defeated by just anyone. Layers of demonic shadows. Han Yan held the Imperial Soul-Sealing Demon Sword in his hand and slashed down. Layers of demonic shadows swept across the void and shrouded everyone. 9 revolutions zither sound. Gentleman's sword. Dual heavenly fists. The 3 of them could be said to be like the 8 immortals crossing the sea, each displaying their own abilities. However, in the face of Han Yan's irresistible demonic shadows, they were all forced to retreat in the end, appearing to be in an extremely sorry state. A cold smile flashed across Han Yan's face. He had no benevolent heart. At this time, the best thing to do was to kill these damned fellows in one go to avoid future troubles. Go to hell. Yun Gayao, Jun Tianchou, and the others looked pale as a demonic shadow descended from the sky. Amitabha. Monks are compassionate. Benefactor. The sea of bitterness is boundless. Repent and you will be saved. A Buddhist sect's hand seal struck out forcefully, directly dispersing Han Yan's layers of demonic shadows. The clouds parted to reveal the moon. Han Yan's face was dark. The man in the rough linen robe had a grim expression on his face. He put his palms together and stood in front of Yun Gayao and the others, blocking Han Yan's attack. Old bald donkey. You really are a lingering spirit. Tyrant's pupils constricted and his face turned gloomy. He knew this person. He had narrowly escaped death at his hands and escaped from the West Pole Divine Land. Of course he wasn't alone. Tyrant, you're originally a disciple of the Buddhist sect, yet you've repeatedly injured the people of my sect. Surrender yourself. I won't kill you. The monk in the linen robe spoke in a low voice. His voice was stern, and he seemed to be advising Tyrant to repent. Old bald donkey, do you think I don't know the wishful thinking of your Kasayapa temple? Isn't it all for the relic in my hand? If I go with you, I won't even know how I died. A bunch of sanctimonious people. After the destruction of the Great Layin Temple and the collapse of the Buddhist sect, how many true monks do you have in the West Pole Divine Land? Tyrant said through gritted teeth. He had accumulated resentment in his heart for a long time. As he dismissed Peng Lang, he argued with the old monk from Kasayapa Temple. Amitabha, since you're unwilling, then don't blame me. As the head of the Kasayapa Temple's commandment yard, Wu Yan's strength was almost on par with Tyrant's. Furthermore, he definitely wouldn't have come alone. Wu Yan, stop pretending. In order to chase after me, who knows how many tricks you've pulled behind my back. In front of the world, you still have to pretend to be righteous. Buddha won't forgive people like you, Tyrant said disdainfully. Wu Yan's expression gradually turned cold. At this moment, he was also filled with anger. However, as a monk, He didn't continue to argue with Tyrant. Instead, he used his actions to explain everything. He held his Buddhist discipline staff in his hand and held his sword in front of him, ready to fight at any time. Senior brother Wu Yan, our Tianluo temple is also responsible for capturing Tyrant. However, it seems that Tyrant isn't the only person we want to capture. Jiang Chen is equally despicable. Back then, many of our genius disciples died in his hands. In the illusion of the Great Leiyin Temple, we suffered a great loss. I, Zhilian, will never forget this debt. Tianluo Temple's Dharma Hall's head, Monk Zhilian, said with a cold expression. Finally, his gaze fell on Jiang Chen. This was killing two birds with one stone. Jiang Chen was already an arrow at the end of its flight. As long as they captured Tyrant, it would be a complete success. Ba. Senior brothers, I, Yun, am late. Please don't blame me. Our Swan Goose Temple wouldn't dare to fall behind in capturing Tyrant. Yun said with a faint smile. The three powerful monks had set their sights on Tyrant and Jiang Chen. This time, they had traveled a long way from the West Pole Divine region. It could be said that they had gone through a lot of hardships. Naturally, their goal was to capture Tyrant. He had too many things on him that were highly valued by the temples of the West Pole Divine region. It could even be a secret that could change the Buddhist sect. No one would let Chiyu Temple monopolize it. Peng Lang and the others narrowed their eyes. Initially, they thought that these old monks were Tyrant's accomplices. However, it seemed that Jiang Chen and Tyrant had offended the people of Tianluo Temple, Swan Goose Temple, and Kasayapa Temple. To them, this was the best news. I am the sect master of the Baji sect, Peng Lang. Masters, you've come at the right time. As long as you can capture this monk, leave Jiang Chen to us. Peng Lang said with a faint smile. Ba, sect master Peng is too kind. We won't let this evil monk tarnish the pure land of the Central Region Divine Land. Sect Master Peng and the others don't need to worry too much about the West Pole Divine Region. Wu Yan said with a calm expression. The three of them looked at each other. They knew that at this time, they could only join forces to deal with Tyrant. Previously, they had let this guy escape. Now, they absolutely couldn't let him leave. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They also knew about the relationship between him and Jiang Chen. As long as Jiang Chen was still around, Tyrant would not leave. Therefore they could kill two birds with one stone this time. Chapter 36-24. The Central Region Divine Land had been stirred up. Many experts had gathered here. Even the people from Tianluo Temple, Kasayapa Temple, and Hongyan Temple did not dare to be negligent. Those who stood here were all famous people in the Central Region Divine Land. After all, they came from the West Pole Divine Land. All right, it's enough to hear Grandmaster's words. Jiang Chen will die for sure. Peng Lang said proudly. As long as Tyrant could not stop him, he would be able to kill Jiang Chen. Three late Divine Emperor realm experts from the West Pole Divine Land. Not simple, not simple. Shangguan Hongyan squinted her eyes and said with a smile. What else could Jiang Chen do? Could he turn the tide? Right now, he could only wait for death. Yun Gayao, Jun Tiancho and the others were also watching this scene silently. Although they might not be able to play a decisive role, at least at this moment, witnessing Jiang Chen's death was still an exciting thing for them. This bastard should have died a long time ago. Now that the three grandmasters of the West Pole Divine Land have joined hands, let's see how long they can be arrogant. Hao Yunhang said angrily. They were suppressed by Han Yen just now and were almost killed. If it was not for Grandmaster Wu Yan's timely intervention, they would have been killed by Han Yen. They were on the brink of death. Now that the situation had changed, they became calmer. Jiang Chen, let's see what else you can do this time. Yun Gayao looked at Jiang Chen with interest. He could escape every time, but at this moment, he could not escape even if he had wings. Everyone present, except for the top experts of the Central Region Divine Land and the three Grandmasters of the West Pole Divine Land, Jiang Chen had nowhere to go. Jiang Chen's expression was extremely ugly, and Tyrant was also sighing in his heart. Could it be that he was really going to die here? As long as Jiang Chen did not leave, Tyrant would never leave this place. They would live and die together. This was what true brothers should do. Jiang Chen's heart was filled with emotions. He knew that he had implicated them, but if Jiang Chen asked them to leave, would they? Obviously, that was not the case. It's not that easy to kill my Jiang Chen's brother. Jiang Chen slowly stood up. Although he had only recovered less than 30% of his strength, Jiang Chen couldn't just sit there and wait for death. He couldn't let his brothers risk their lives for him, yet he just stood there and did nothing. Jiang Chen couldn't do it. He would rather die in battle and become a lonely ghost than fight them to the death. Han Yan and Tyrant both looked at Jiang Chen. Their eyes were filled with determination. They wished that they could be born on the same day, month, and year, and die on the same day. Han Yan and Tyrant had long since prepared themselves for this. If one's life was not satisfying, then why not go to the afterlife and fight against the other heroes? Little Chenzi, are you sure? Han Yan looked at Jiang Chen. When have I, Jiang Chen, ever been unable to do it? Ha ha ha, in today's battle, I will perish together with them. Jiang Chen faced death with equanimity. He had already cut off his path. Good brother, a bunch of bald donkeys. I will definitely let them die here. We brothers can't lose. Tyrant gritted his teeth and said, it was better to live a bad life than to die a good death. One must have some stubbornness in order to live an exciting life. Jiang Chen looked at the sky, at the Zulong Tower with a faint smile on his face. Ling Yun, Long Ying and Yu were all silently watching this scene. Tears streamed down their cheeks. The difference in strength between both sides was too great. If they were to fight, they would definitely die. However, Jiang Chen didn't let them out. He was afraid that they would be in danger. Jiang Chen looked at them affectionately. However, Ling Yun and the other two were impatient. As Jiang Chen turned around, he looked at the clouds in the sky and murmured, Little Yu, Qingqing, Sister Ning, please protect me. Xiao Yu, Qingqing, Sister Ning, please protect me. In this battle, I, Jiang Chen, will not let anyone hurt my brothers and women, no matter if I live or die. Death was the end of everything. However, living was more difficult than dying. Ha ha ha, you can't die. If you die, I will die too. Jiang Chen, your life is my life. A long roar resounded. A fiery red silhouette stepped on the sky. He was majestic and heroic. His fiery aura covered the sky. A pair of fiery eyes shot up to the sky. Fire Qilin. Jiang Chen's eyes lit up. This fellow was finally willing to come back. As the divine beast soared into the sky, fiery shadows overlapped, causing many people to frown. The temperature of the entire void rose higher and higher, as if it was a furnace. Heat waves rolled and the aura stagnated. It's the Fire Qilin? Haha, this battle is getting more and more exciting. I wonder when we will be able to see the end. Jiang Chen's helpers are also experts. That's for sure. Jiang Chen isn't an ordinary warrior. I can tell from the way he overcame all the enemies. This guy has a lot of trump cards. Now, I'm looking forward to seeing if Jiang Chen can have the last laugh. Haha. The happiest ones were none other than those who had participated in the Mountain and Sea Sex Groom Search competition. At this moment, they had become the greatest beneficiaries. This kind of peerless battle had shocked the heavens and earth, and for millions of years, it had never happened before. They were simply the biggest winners as they watched and learned from the side. It's just a divine beast. However, it still can't change your fate of death. Peng Lang said indifferently. He clenched his fist and charged towards Jiang Chen. Shi Yun, Wu Yan, and Ji Lian, the three monks also made their moves and charged towards Tyrant. Jiang Chen leaped into the sky and rode on the back of the Fire Qilin. Fire shadows filled the sky and covered the void, burning the spiritual energy in the surroundings. His aura was much stronger than before. A divine beast at the peak of the mid-divine emperor realm was definitely not weaker than a late divine emperor realm expert. Jiang Chen's eyes were like torches. His killing intent was decisive. He met Peng Lang with the might of the Fire Qilin. The two of them finally clashed. Peng Lang's killing intent was heavy, not giving Jiang Chen any time to recover. The Fire Qilin and Jiang Chen worked together. They were not afraid of Peng Lang at all. This shocking battle was getting more and more exciting. The Fire Qilin was ferocious. The demeanor of a divine beast shocked the world. Peng Lang's ridicule was reaping what he sowed. He was constantly being burned by the Fire Qilin's divine fire. Tyrant was the most miserable. He had to fight 1 against 3. Wu Yan and the other two were not weak. They were at the late divine emperor realm. Their might was unstoppable. Tyrant could not move an inch. How tenacious. I wonder how long you can last. Chapter 36-25. Jiang Chen rode on the fire qilin and met Peng Lang's attack head-on. At this moment, Peng Lang was greatly shocked. Originally, he did not take the fire qilin seriously, but the fire attack he received made it difficult for him to advance or retreat. Coupled with Jiang Chen's double attack, Peng Lang fell into a stalemate. Divine Fire Prairie Fire. The fire qilin was furious. Together with Jiang Chen's limitless sword, Peng Lang was in deep trouble. Fortunately, Jiang Chen's strength had not recovered much. Otherwise, Peng Lang's current situation might be the same as Shangguan Hongyan and Liao Yunxing, life and death. Damn it, 8 Extremities Wind Chaser. Peng Lang also used all his skills. Countless fist shadows danced in the sky, and the battle was intense. On the other side, under the joint attacks of Shi Yun and Wu Yan, Monk Tyrant was also forced to retreat. However, the good news was that Zhi Yan had gone to help Yun Gayao and the others resist Han Yan. Otherwise, Monk Tyrant would not be able to last more than 10 moves before he was completely defeated. He might even be hunted down by the people from the 3 great monasteries. At that time, he would really be helpless. But even so, Tyrant still clenched his teeth, not daring to slack off in the slightest. These 2 people were experts who were second only to the abbot of the 10 great monasteries. In the Buddhist sect, they were supreme venerables. There was no need to doubt their strength. Even in the central region Divine Land, no one dared to provoke them. That was because the Buddhist sect seemed to be constantly fighting amongst themselves. But the West Pole Divine Land was extremely united and united against outsiders. If someone wanted to attack them, they would probably be surrounded by the venerables of the 8 Directions Buddhist sect. The result would be obvious. Therefore, very few people dared to attack the people of the Buddhist sect. Tyrant was an exception. He had disrupted the order of the entire West Pole Divine Continent, causing it to be in a mess. That was why he had been besieged by countless experts of the Buddhist sect of the West Pole Divine Continent. This was just the tip of the iceberg. Even Jiang Chen was worried for Tyrant. How did he manage to survive in the West Pole Divine Continent for so many years? Han Yan was originally fighting without any pressure, and he had a good chance to kill off Yun Gayao and the other 2. However, with the addition of Zhi Yan, his situation became rather difficult. At this time, the 2 sides truly started a tug of war. Han Yan's demonic shadows filled the sky, sweeping across the entire area. However, he just happened to encounter Zhi Yan, the Buddhist sect's expert who countered Han Yan. This battle became difficult for him to advance. Buddha Light Cloud C. Both of Zhi Yan's hands formed seals as he continuously sent out Buddhist seals, directly dispersing the demonic figure above Han Yan and parting the clouds, forcing Han Yan to retreat in a sorry state. The strength of the 2 sides was originally equal, and with the addition of Yun Gayao and the others, these people were not easy to deal with either. Although they might not be able to kill him decisively, they gave Han Yan a huge headache. At the very top, Jiang Chen and the fire qilin's attacks were swift and fierce, constantly recovering their strength. However, Jiang Chen's role was to constantly harass Peng Lang, making it difficult for him to exert 99% of his strength. The fire qilin was well versed in both offense and defense. Its divine flames made it look invincible, making countless people sigh in admiration. You're really persistent. It's a pity that no one can change your fate. Shangguan Hongyan did not leave, because he was waiting for the arrival of the reinforcements. They were his last hope. The 4 late Divine Emperor trusted aides who were also his closest friends. They were the 4 great guest elders, Han Feng, Han Yu, Han Lei, and Han Dian. As a true master craftsman, there was no doubt about his strength. There were also countless people who were willing to risk their lives for him, because the primal origin treasure he forged was enough to move these people, and they were even willing to sacrifice their lives for it. The 4 brothers of the Han family and Shangguan Hongyan had been friends for many years. The moment he went to the Mountain and Sea sect, they had already set up a battle. If he failed, they would move out in full force. Although the 4 late divine emperors were only at the minor connecting heaven realm, their strength was almost equal to his. They were not weaker. The 4 figures broke through the air, and the sky was once again filled with shock. Brother Shangguan, we're late. Don't blame us. Ha ha ha. Han Feng said with a smile, looking guilty. Shangguan Hongyan shook his head and said, "It's good that you're here. It's good that you're here. Now, All of you just need to help me kill that kid sitting on the fire Qilin. That kid is already at the end of his anger. Now that so many experts are surrounding him, it can be said that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After listening to Shangguan Hongyan's words, Han Feng's expression became solemn. Everyone here was extremely powerful. There were more than 2 or 3 late divine emperors. These people were the mainstay of their sections. Han Feng knew their strength very well. It should be a piece of cake for them to kill an arrow at the end of its flight. However, the battle between Fire Qilin and Peng Lang was also quite terrifying. Hence, they did not dare to be careless. Don't worry, brother Shangguan. As long as you say it, we brothers will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Han Feng said. To him, Shangguan Hongyan had helped them a lot. Moreover, when they were in the Divine King realm, they had always been close to Shangguan Hongyan. If it wasn't for Shangguan Hongyan's help, they would not have so many cultivation resources and the appreciation of the sect. They would never forget the kindness of Shangguan Hongyan. Now that Shangguan Hongyan had made such a request, they would definitely do their best. Shangguan Hongyan nodded slightly. To him, it was enough for the 4 brothers to kill Jiang Chen. Now, it was time to see who would have the last laugh. Liao Yunsheng could not help but sigh. It seemed that Shangguan Hongyan had come prepared this time. However, at this time, it was obvious that he had exhausted his limited abilities. The Mountain Sea Sect had already been damaged. As long as it did not affect the Mountain Sea Sect, Liao Yunsheng had no objections. As long as he could kill Jiang Chen, everything would be worth it. The 4 brothers of the Han family, Wind, Rain, Thunder and Lightning, flew towards Jiang Chen at this moment, summoning the wind and summoning the rain. With the 4 late divine emperors joining in the battle, Jiang Chen and the Fire Qilin were instantly suppressed. Jiang Chen and the Fire Qilin had no chance to fight back at all. Ha ha ha, let's see what you can do this time. Jiang Chen. Surrender. If you want to die honorably, now is your best chance. Peng Lang said with a laugh. Together with the 4 great experts, Wind, Rain, Thunder and Lightning, they had completely suppressed Jiang Chen, making it hard for him to move. His face was filled with bitterness and blood was dripping from his hands. Chapter 36-26. Jiang Chen, what should we do? Are we really going to die here? The Fire Qilin said bitterly. Even it did not expect that after it returned to help Jiang Chen fight against the enemy, it would be a narrow escape from death. No, it should be a narrow escape from death. Who could turn the tide in the current situation? Jiang Chen's expression became solemn. This was something he could not change. At this moment, he could only hold on until the last moment and hope for a miracle to happen. Jiang Chen, you don't have any hope left. Surrender now. Liao Yunsheng shouted angrily. The Mountain and Sea Sect had been burned to the ground, all because of Jiang Chen. At this moment, no one was more pained than him. For thousands of years, the Mountain and Sea Sect had stood tall in the Central Region Divine Land. It was the object of countless people's admiration and worship. But now, he was the only one left. All the core forces, the experts above the hierarch realm, had been turned into ashes. Liao Yunsheng endured the humiliation. Even if he killed Jiang Chen 100 times, it would not be enough to quell the anger in his heart. Little junior brother, the day of your death has finally arrived. Shangguan Hongyan smiled faintly. Han Yan was struggling to move forward, and Tyrant was forced to retreat after each of his attacks. The Fire Qilin and him were both suppressed, and they were defeated in just a short moment. Jiang Chen had no way out. It must be said that you are indeed very powerful. You have caused so many experts in the Central Region Divine Land to flock to you like a flock of ducks. However, the number of people you have offended is truly too many. Thus, the number of people who want you dead is innumerable. You simply do not have any reason to leave this place alive. Shangguan Hongyan's sentence made Jiang Chen feel a trace of despair. However, the 2 figures coming towards him were like a hammer to his head. 2 old men, one black and one white, came through the void. Jiang Chen did not know these 2 people, but Jiang Chen knew the 3 people behind them very well. They were the 3 great elders of the dragon clan. Jiang Chen, you have disrupted the safety of our dragon tribe. Today, I, the black and white saint envoy, will personally take action. I will definitely kill you. The great elder of the dragon clan said in a deep voice. The 5 of them were all late divine emperors. Shangguan Hongyan and the others became serious again. That bastard Jiang Chen. How many more people want him dead? Shangguan Hongyan did not care about Jiang Chen's life or death. However, the craftsman god's inheritance in this fellow's body could not be taken away by anyone. The black and white saint emissaries of the Dragon Clan have always been a legend. They are powerful existences comparable to the Dragon Clan patriarch. Jiang Chen must have caused a great disaster in the Dragon Clan. Otherwise, the Dragon Clan wouldn't have sent the black and white saint emissaries and the 3 great elders. Sigh, those who are unjust are doomed to destruction. Jiang Chen has only himself to blame. He has even offended the dragon tribe. Is there anyone in this world that he does not dare to offend? You're right. It seems like this fella has poked a hole in the sky. I have never seen such a scene in my life. I guess from today onwards, no one will be able to reach Jiang Chen's level. Haha, this has caused the entire Middle Province to tremble, and countless experts have been attracted to this place. The black and white saint emissaries and the 3 great elders of the Dragon Clan made Jiang Chen feel sad. When a wall is down, everyone will give it a shove. Countless experts came to attack Jiang Chen as a group. The enemies that he had offended in the past also came to him one by one. Each of them was powerful enough to shock a region. At this moment, Jiang Chen had no one that he could rely on anymore. The ancestral Dragon Emperor was held back by Little Thunder God and could not join the battle. He did not have the strength to fight anymore. Little bastard, kneel down. The great elder of the Dragon Clan shouted angrily. The black and white saint emissaries were extremely powerful. They were even comparable to Peng Lang. With the help of the Dragon Clan and Shangguan Hongyan, Jiang Chen was pushed into a bottomless abyss. Tyrant's breathing became heavy. He started his counterattack with all his might. The battle was extremely intense. He wanted to use his last bit of energy to fight for a chance of survival for Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen also continued to attack. Han Yan was also constantly erupting with power, harming 1,000 enemies, harming 800 of his own. He didn't hold back and started his final counterattack. However, they were already completely suppressed. Even at this moment, there was no way they could turn the situation around. Fight, fight, fight. Let's see who can do anything to me. Jiang Chen held the Eastern Emperor Bell in his left hand and the Demon Suppressing Monument in his right hand. He swept the Eastern Emperor Bell and the Demon Suppressing Monument in his right hand. He stood on the fire Qilin and squeezed out his last bit of energy. 1 against 10. At that moment, Jiang Chen was constantly being forced back. However, he was like an unkillable cockroach. He was incomparably tenacious and ferocious. The Demon Suppressing Monument and the Eastern Emperor Bell were both good at offense and defense. Their momentum was unparalleled. However, facing the continuous pressure from the black and white saint emissaries, Peng Lang, and the others, Jiang Chen was in an extremely difficult situation. He was constantly being forced back. His face was pale and blood was gushing out. However, his clenched fists did not relax in the slightest. His brothers beside him and the woman in his arms, even if he had to die, he would not let go. Ancient Soaring Dragon Technique. Jiang Chen forcefully unleashed the ancient soaring dragon technique. After that, his body continued to grow. His 100-zhong tall body made him look like a peerless war god. Even though he knew that he was going to die, he had no regrets. Even if it was a battle of life and death, he would still fight till the end. The fire Qilin's eyes were bloodshot. Flames covered its body. However, facing the 10 great experts, it had already tried its best. However, it was still futile. Jiang Chen suffered the attacks of the 10 great experts. He was constantly being forced back. He was still holding on with his injured body. Han Yan's eyes were bloodshot. Tears of blood rolled down his cheeks. His roar was deafening. He was not willing to give up. Even if there was still a sliver of hope. Tyrant's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. No one could understand that the 3 of them were fighting at this moment. They were using the last splendor of their lives to show their unyielding will. Their heads could be cut off, their blood could flow, but their will could not be lost. Jiang Chen was defeated again and again. His injuries worsened. He was already a defeated general. Dragging on his last bit of strength, he would fight them all to the end. Stubborn fool. Go to hell. The black and white saint emissaries of the Dragon Clan were invincible. Previously, the 4 brothers of the Han clan had attacked Jiang Chen with wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. Now, the experts of the Dragon Clan had completely suppressed him. Could it be that Big Brother is really going to die? Yu-Er murmured. She was already prepared to be buried with Jiang Chen. The Hellion clan was no longer important. Jiang Chen was the only one in her life. In this life, when has he ever lived for himself? 2 streams of tears flowed down Long Ying-er's face. She knew that Jiang Chen had lived a very, very tiring life. Chapter 36-27. Along the way, he didn't stop to rest at all, just to find them as soon as possible. He didn't do it for himself. He had always been selfless in his life. A living man must have some stubbornness. Back then, he left me resolutely because he couldn't let go of the stubbornness in his heart. I don't blame him. Today, I would rather die together than turn back. Ling Yun smiled gently. They didn't blame Jiang Chen anymore because even they couldn't change the situation. They might even restrict Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen will definitely die in today's battle. They will definitely follow Jiang Chen. Everything is over. Little junior brother, it's time to end your stubbornness. Shangguan Hongyan clenched her fist. Old ginger is spicier. You're just a greenhorn, yet you dare to be so arrogant in the Central Region Divine Land. There's only one ending for you. You'll become a thorn in the people's side. If you want to end it, you'll have to ask the spear in my hand first. The icy cold, clear and melodious voice reverberated in the sky, and it was forceful and sonorous. A white-clothed figure stood on top of the dome. The young man was in high spirits. His golden hair fluttered in the wind. His handsomeness was unparalleled, and his appearance was outstanding. Even many beauties felt ashamed of their inferiority in front of his appearance. The young man was as beautiful as a painting, as if he walked out from a painting. The young man stood there silently. It was as if the entire space had frozen. His aura was majestic and domineering, especially the golden spear in his hand. It was emitting a faint cold light, shocking everyone. Like an everlasting pine tree, he stood there, causing countless people to look at him. Little Chenzi, your miserable appearance is making me laugh to death, the white-robed young man said with a smile. His eyes were filled with tears of blood as he clenched the golden spear in his hand tightly. His tattered clothes were drenched in blood, and his flesh was badly mangled. This was the first time he had seen a demon wolf in such a sorry state. How many years has it been? He had been waiting for this day. But he didn't expect that they would be reunited here. The corner of the white-clad youth's lips curled up in a bloodthirsty smile. Tears of blood welled up in his eyes, and the veins on his arms bulged. His expression turned cold, and he looked like an ancient killing god. Although you look very handsome like this, in my eyes, you will always be a little brat, Jiang Chen said with a smile, but his eyes were a little moist, as if sand had gotten into his eyes. Fuck you, I'm the most handsome man in the world. The white-robed youth laughed heartily like the wind. Han Yen, you bastard, why are you still so weak? He's as weak as a monk. The white-clothed youth said disdainfully, causing Han Yen and Tyrant to not know whether to laugh or cry. However, at that moment, the battle intent in their hearts started to burn again. An elegant and beautiful young man, aloof from the world, who else could it be but De Huang? De Huang's return rekindled the extinguished flame of hope in their hearts. They still had hope. De Huang was there. Jiang Chen was there. They were all there. What a beautiful young man. Ling Yun, Yu-Er and the rest silently looked at the white-clothed youth. They sighed because he was simply too handsome. He was so handsome that people felt that this kind of beauty shouldn't appear on him. It was a face that even women would be jealous of. That's Big Brother Jiang Chen's closest brother. Long Ying-er smiled with tears in her eyes. They also saw a trace of hope. After the two of them had sex, Jiang Chen told her everything, hoping that she could understand him. Long Ying-er wouldn't be jealous of anyone. As long as he was still the big brother Jiang Chen who made her feel at ease, as long as he was by her side, she would be satisfied. From today onwards, if anyone dares to bully you, I will annihilate their entire family. De Huang clenched the golden spear in his hand so tightly that creaking sounds could be heard. That kind of might and tyranny was terrifying. So many years had passed, but De Huang was still the same. He hated evil. If anyone dared to bully Jiang Chen, he would definitely make that person suffer a fate worse than death. Over 100 years had been lost in the long river of history, but their brotherly love had become even stronger. No one could understand the deep friendship that the two of them had built up over the years. There was no need to express it in words. It was as deep as the heavens. When De Huang looked at Jiang Chen, his eyes flashed with deep longing. During his days in the Luo God clan, he was constantly worried that little Chenzi would be in danger. He constantly cultivated and strengthened himself. It was all for the day that he could stand beside Jiang Chen and fight alongside him. At that time, he could proudly say that not only was he the most handsome person in the world, he was also the most handsome person in the world. The day had finally arrived. The look in Big Yellow's eyes kept changing. Tears of blood intertwined with each other. At this moment, it had decided that it was going to start a massacre. That fellow looks so handsome. Can he really take a beating? Don't you know that you can't judge a book by its cover? But he's only in the pinnacle middle divine emperor realm. I'm afraid that he's just courting death. What a pity. Even I, as a woman, am deeply envious of his good looks. Many people sighed as they looked at the handsome youth. Compared to Jiang Chen, they even felt that it was a pity. You're courting death. There's actually someone standing beside him now. Looks like you're also courting death. The Black Dragon Saint Envoy said coldly. The white-clothed youth was powerful, but it wasn't enough to change the situation. His influence on the battle was practically zero. Then let's kill him together. I want to see how big of a wave this fellow can stir up. The White Dragon Saint Envoy sneered. The 5 experts of the Dragon Clan took the initiative to attack. They did not give Jiang Chen and the white-clothed youth any chance. Little Chenzi, today, I'll show you that I've never slacked off over the years. Big Yellow held the golden spear in its hand and released a spear ray. The spear's shadow turned into layers of halos and broke out of its body. It was as magnificent as a mountain and shook the 9 heavens. Jiang Chen looked at Big Yellow silently. He looked at the familiar figure of the young man and his lips curled into a smile. After so many years, the two brothers finally met again. There were thousands of words that could not be said. It was better to fight against the heroes along the way. Chapter 36-28. The more they gained, the more they had to pay. Moreover, they always had the same dream in their hearts, to meet each other and brave the world together. De Huang held the golden spear in his hand. His figure was like lightning, shuttling through the 9 heavens, fighting against 10 enemies alone. At that moment, his figure was incomparably tall. The Da Huang of the past was no longer an ignorant person. In this battle, De Huang fought against all the heroes and took on the heavy burden. You're about to die. Hurry up and take a rest. Leave the rest to me. Big Yellow roared and pointed at the spear. Then, it galloped forward, and spear shadows filled the sky. He was only a peak mid-divine emperor, but he displayed the power of a peak late divine emperor. At that moment, De Huang was like a god descending to the mortal world. His divine spear pierced through the heavens and earth. No one dared to fight against him. He fought against 10 enemies alone, not showing any signs of defeat. Isn't this young man a little too valiant? Liao Yunsheng said in amazement. Facing the black and white saint emissaries and the 3 great elders of the dragon race, the 4 brothers of the Han clan and the master of the Baji school could still be so relaxed. De Huang's power was unparalleled. His divine spear was unparalleled. At this moment, he could finally fight with all his strength after 100 years of hard work. Dazzling divine spear. De Huang was invincible. In an instant, the heavens and earth trembled and the wind and clouds surged. Jiang Chen was incomparably happy. De Huang's battle could be called a classic. However, he knew very well that these 10 men hadn't unleashed their full strength. All of them were holding back their strength. After all, their goal was to kill Jiang Chen. If they were to fight with their full strength now, it would certainly give some people an opportunity to take advantage of them. Therefore, they didn't fight Big Yellow to the death. But even so, it was enough to foresee how terrifying De Huang was. His dazzling divine spear swept across the world, unstoppable. It seems that if I don't bring out some of my special abilities, you fellows really think that you can escape from the palms of my dragon clan. The Black Dragon Saint Ambassador roared furiously. Together with the White Dragon Saint Ambassador, their strength increased tremendously. The 4 wind, rain, thunder, and lightning brothers of the Han clan were not to be outdone. Peng Lang followed closely behind them. At this moment, the 10 of them truly started a bloody battle. Jiang Chen frowned and said in a low voice with a grim expression, "Not good. These fellows are finally getting serious." De Huang, be careful. Jiang Chen shouted coldly. However, it was already too late. Although Big Yellow's chi was still there was still a gap between him and these 10 old men who were fighting with their lives on the line. Big Yellow felt that he was in a difficult situation. The moment these 10 old men unleashed their full strength, he already felt that it was very strenuous for him. Fire Qilin, go help him, Jiang Chen said.
Okay.
The Fire Qilin responded. With the help of the Fire Qilin, De Huang was relieved a little. However, at this moment, it was extremely difficult for him. The Fire Qilin and De Huang retreated step by step. They managed to stabilize the situation, but if this went on for a long time, it was very likely that De Huang would not be able to hold on. Damn it! De Huang gritted his teeth and said. He fought with his life on the line and faced death with equanimity. These bastards almost killed Jiang Chen. He could not afford to be careless. The tears of blood in his eyes turned into frost at this moment. He did not retreat, but instead advanced. He fought with his life on the line and injured 800 of his own. De Huang's golden spear was matchless, but it was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. Even with the help of the Fire Qilin, the 2 of them were unable to turn the tide. At this moment, the situation was once again in a stalemate. However, for Jiang Chen and the others, it was not optimistic. Jiang Chen was incomparably furious in his heart, but now that he was injured again, the effect he could do was minimal. Seeing his own brother fight with his life on the line for him, the torment in Jiang Chen's heart could be imagined. Are you finally at your wits' end? Jiang Chen, oh Jiang Chen, you brought this upon yourself. Liao Yunxing laughed sinisterly. Shangguan Hongyan glanced at him. At this moment, both of them understood that this was the Mountain and Sea sect. How could Liao Yunxing not be prepared at all? Although he was responsible for the deaths of hundreds of Divine Emperor stage experts, as the Mountain Lord of the Mountain and Sea sect, Liao Yunxing did not hesitate at all to kill Jiang Chen. At this moment, Jiang Chen was already at her wits' end. At this time, it was time to regain the face of the Mountain and Sea sect. I respectfully request the Supreme Elder to come out of seclusion and clear the name of my Mountain and Sea sect. The descendants are unfilial and have suffered heavy casualties. They have shamed the Mountain and Sea sect. I hope that the Supreme Elder will fight for the Mountain and Sea sect. Liao Yunxing faced the direction of the ancestral shrine and bowed deeply. His voice shook the 9 heavens, and in an instant, the entire Mountain and Sea sect became illusory. Sand and stones flew everywhere, and within the ancestral shrine of the Mountain and Sea sect, a silver figure broke through the air. His long hair fell to the ground, and his clothes were tattered. However, his immortal aura made everyone feel that they were inferior to him. Peak of the Divine Emperor stage. The true peak of the Emperor stage was much stronger than Liao Yunxing's late-stage Great Perfection stage. Most importantly, this was someone who was only a step away from the true Emperor stage. The old figure was slightly stooped, but the light in his eyes could pierce through one's mind. Liao Yunxing's entire body trembled. He lowered his head and his expression turned ugly. Countless people in the surroundings all had expressions of surprise on their faces. Jiang Chen stared at the silver figure. At this moment, he knew that his situation was already at the end of his rope. He could hide from the Zulong Tower for a while, but he could not hide forever. If the Zulong Tower was trapped, then he could only sit and wait for death. Therefore, Jiang Chen would rather die in battle than hide in the Zulong Tower and be a coward. In the 9 regions immortal world, no one could do anything to the Zulong Tower, but that did not mean that no one in the God realm could do anything to him. The peak of the Divine Emperor stage. Such an expert was something that countless people could only look up to. He was only a step away from the Emperor realm. Back then, the craftsman god was only at the peak of the Divine Emperor stage. He was known as the strongest person below the Emperor realm. The silver-haired man's face was cold as he looked at Liao Yunxing. His anger could not be quelled, but his might was even more pressuring. Jiang Chen felt absolute suppression. Such a legendary figure, the Supreme Elder of the Mountain and Sea sect, was the true supreme expert. Simply trash. The Mountain and Sea sect was actually so weak in your hands. The Silver Fox looked at Liao Yunxing coldly. With a thought, he had already understood everything. Over 100 Divine Emperor stage experts had fallen, and Liao Yunxing could not escape the blame. As the Mountain Lord of the Mountain and Sea sect, he had to take full responsibility. Yes, Elder Silver Fox. Chapter 36-29. What a great elder, Silver Fox. Jiang Chen gritted his teeth and said. When Silver Fox looked at Jiang Chen, he felt a huge pressure. That was the strongest person he had ever seen, the person closest to the Emperor realm. Such an expert was not much different from the great perfection late divine Emperor realm, but it was just a slight difference, making it difficult for people to resist. You are Jiang Chen? Kneel down and talk to me. Silver Fox said indifferently. Kneel down? Do you really think you are an Emperor realm expert? There are not many people in the world who can make me, Jiang Chen, kneel. Jiang Chen said coldly. He would rather die standing than live kneeling. You don't know what's good for you. Kneel down. Silver Fox shouted coldly. A monstrous aura shot through the sky and crushed over. The sky changed color, and Jiang Chen's expression changed as well. However, he still did not kneel down. A towering battle intent rose up. The way of towering heaven made his will incomparably strong. So what if he was the supreme elder of the mountain and sea sect? He was still not qualified to make him lower his head. Jiang Chen gritted his teeth. His face was ashen and blood flowed out of his eyes. He was under pressure, but he still did not kneel down. Good, good, good. You have courage, but you killed hundreds of experts of my mountain and sea sect. Today, even the Emperor of Heaven will not be able to save you. The pressure that Silver Fox exerted on Jiang Chen was quite great. He did not expect that a guy who was already at death's door and could be killed with a single slap would be able to fight against him. Although he had not made a move yet, if it was an ordinary divine Emperor realm expert, their heart would have long since been shattered and they would have prostrated themselves in worship. No wonder he could behave so atrociously in his mountain and sea sect. It seemed that he had some ability. However, at this moment, he no longer had the strength to fight. Death was his only choice. Little Chunzi. De Huang's eyes were cold and sinister as he stared at Jiang Chen. Han Yan and Tyrant were the same. Under the pressure of the Silver Fox, Jiang Chen was already bleeding from his 7 apertures. To Jiang Chen, this was no different from a life and death torture. I, Jiang Chen, will never yield to anyone. Jiang Chen held his head high and looked into the eyes of the Silver Fox. However, Jiang Chen felt that the heaven-reaching Taoist connotation in his body was growing bit by bit. Under the pressure of the Silver Fox, it stimulated the power of the Taoist connotation in Jiang Chen's body, and it began to grow gradually. For Jiang Chen, it was a rare opportunity. Jiang Chen was not angry. Instead, he was happy. If this continued, he did not know how long he could last. The heaven-reaching Taoist connotation continued to grow and resist the pressure of the Silver Fox. At this moment, Jiang Chen was already struggling to move. However, his will did not change at all. As long as he still had a breath in him, no one could suppress him. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Jiang Chen finally could not hold on any longer. He spat out a mouthful of blood. However, the power of the Taoist connotation in his body had increased by several times. It was even enough for him to use the heavenly crushing seal several times. Moreover, the growth of the heaven-reaching Taoist connotation had greatly improved Jiang Chen's soul realm. It even made him feel that he could break through to the Emperor realm at any time. To be able to last for so long, you are indeed an extremely talented guy. However, it is a pity that you are an enemy of the Mountain Sea sect. I can only kill you. Otherwise, how can I face the innocent souls of the Mountain Sea sect who have died unjustly? The Silver Fox said indifferently. His palm moved slightly and he struck out. Jiang Chen used his full strength and the power of the heavenly crushing seal to resist the Silver Fox's attack. Jiang Chen retreated and stabilized his body. He spat out a mouthful of blood. After wiping it off, Jiang Chen stood up again and looked at the Silver Fox coldly. The Silver Fox's eyes flickered and his expression was solemn. Jiang Chen's power of the Taoist connotation naturally did not escape his eyes. Even he could not comprehend the great way. How could this guy have the power of the Taoist connotation in his body? The Silver Fox looked at Jiang Chen in disbelief. However, at this moment, he no longer planned to kill Jiang Chen. He would first imprison him and study him carefully to see if he could replace his power of the Taoist connotation. If he could comprehend the great way, then he would be one step closer to entering the Emperor realm. However, the Silver Fox did not know that the power of the Taoist connotation was completely beyond his imagination. In his eyes, the power of the Taoist connotation was self-evident. Only a true Emperor realm expert was worthy of the power of the Taoist connotation. However, Even Emperor Realm experts did not necessarily have the power of the Taoist connotation. This Jiang Chen made him more and more curious, and he felt a trace of excitement. Little guy, I did not expect you to have such skills. Come with me, I can guarantee your life. The silver fox smiled. Do you think I am a 3-year-old child? I am not the one you value. Jiang Chen sneered. The two of them looked at each other and the silver fox became more and more indifferent. What a brat who doesn't know how to appreciate favors. In that case, I can only make you suffer a fate worse than death. The silver fox was prepared to kill Jiang Chen. To him, it was a great loss. Therefore, he wanted to use Jiang Chen as a test subject to study. The so-called power of the Taoist connotation. In the ancestral hall of the Mountain and Sea sect, there was a power of the Taoist connotation. However, he could not extract it and he could not fight against it. Although the power of the Taoist connotation that Jiang Chen displayed was not strong, it was extremely terrifying. If it was an ordinary late divine emperor, he would definitely be injured by Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen, hold on a little longer. Little Thunder God's origin energy will be extracted soon. The ancestral dragon emperor's voice resounded in Jiang Chen's mind. Jiang Chen's expression changed and he was overjoyed. Little Thunder God's origin energy was the 5th heavenly lightning. Jiang Chen saw hope in his despair. As long as the 5th heavenly lightning could be combined with the previous 4 heavenly lightning, Jiang Chen believed that he would be invincible under the Emperor realm. The thought of the 5th heavenly lightning made him excited. To Jiang Chen, this was undoubtedly good news. All right. Jiang Chen suppressed the joy in his heart and confronted the silver fox. At this moment, even if he had to exhaust the last bit of his strength, he must protect his brother. Once the 5th heavenly lightning was extracted from Little Thunder God's body, it would be a terrifying trump card for Jiang Chen. I'm giving you face but you don't want it. No one has ever said no in front of me. You're the first. The silver fox stared at Jiang Chen and clenched his fist tightly. His murderous intent surged out like a tide. Jiang Chen's expression changed again and again. It's done, the ancestral dragon emperor said excitedly. Jiang Chen took a deep breath and his face was extremely calm. I want all of you to die without a burial place. Chapter 36:30. Silver Fox's eyes stared straight at Jiang Chen. Was this guy really not afraid of death? Even in the central region Divine Land, no one dared to go against the peak of the Divine Emperor realm. As the Supreme Elder of the Mountain and Sea sect, his appearance was a true reassurance to the entire Mountain and Sea sect. Everyone gradually understood that the Mountain and Sea sect was vast and had a long history. With such a Supreme Elder, who would dare to look down on them? Those people who originally thought that the Mountain and Sea sect would definitely be destroyed or even become a second- or third-rate sect had to re-examine themselves. After all, the Supreme Elder of the Mountain and Sea sect was simply too strong. Even Peng Lang, the black and white Saint Envoy, and the others had no choice but to treat him seriously. Their expressions were stern, and they did not dare to make the slightest mistake. Although the peak of the Divine Emperor realm was only a step away from the Great Perfection stage, this step was the most important step towards the Emperor realm. Therefore, with the strength of the Silver Fox, even if it was 100,000 years or a million years, they might not be able to reach the heavens in a single step and surpass him. The power of the Mountain and Sea sect was already clear after the appearance of the Silver Fox. No one dared to disrespect him in the slightest. An old sect with a deep foundation was its true strength. At this point, without an Emperor realm expert, it would be impossible to save Jiang Chen. With his strength, even if he gathered this brother, he would still not be able to compare to the Mountain and Sea sect. Yeah, fighting alone is not as good as a colossus like the Mountain and Sea sect. Looks like Jiang Chen will definitely die here. Who said it wasn't? A genius of a generation is destined to fall. Jiang Chen's strength is so strong that it makes one's hair stand on end, but without a strong backing, he can only be reduced to a defeated opponent of a super sect. After killing so many people from the Mountain and Sea sect, Jiang Chen will definitely not be able to escape. Jiang Chen's situation changed again and again. Even those onlookers who were originally full of confidence in him felt powerless. After all, Jiang Chen was the supreme elder of the Mountain and Sea sect. What other choice did he have? Don't worry, little Chenzi. I won't let them have their way even if I have to risk my life. A cold light flashed into Huang's eyes. He raised his golden spear once again and charged into the killing formation. With his back against the wall, The pressure from the black and white Saint envoys and Peng Lang made it impossible for De Huang to use his full strength. Even if he had thousands of ravines in his chest, he could not do anything. De Huang was incomparably furious and ruthless. Even though he was heavily injured and had to fight 1 against 10, his will to fight did not diminish in the slightest. Fighting to the last moment was his greatest wish. Seeing death as home, Tyrant and Han Yen were still the same. The three of them did not show any signs of cowardice. Even if they knew that the outcome would be extremely tragic and they might even die without a burial, as long as their brothers were still alive, they would have no regrets. In fact, the three of them were already prepared to sacrifice themselves. Even if it was the fire Qilin, it was still the same. If Jiang Chen died, then it would be impossible for them to live alone. 4 people and 1 beast were filled with sorrow and sorrow. Although these enemies hated Jiang Chen to the bone, none of the onlookers had the slightest bit of contempt or disrespect towards Jiang Chen. This was because Jiang Chen was worthy of their respect, worthy of their imitation. Such an expert, such a brother, even if they had one of them, it would be enough for them to look down on the world. The feelings of brothers were so strong that there was no distinction between them. They only sought to live and die together. This firm belief and tenacity caused everyone to raise their eyebrows. This was Jiang Chen, and this was their brotherly love. There is no longer any meaning for you to live. All of you die. Remember, in your next life, do not appear in the territory of the mountain and sea sect. The silver fox was bossy and arrogant as he looked down on the heavens. With a wave of his hand, he punched out. Even the fiercest of them all, Goldie, was not able to withstand this punch and was sent flying away in a pathetic manner. He was drenched in blood, and his white robes were stained with blood. Soon after, Han Yen and Tyrant were also forced back by the silver fox. All 3 of them were heavily injured. Everyone who saw this was dumbfounded. No one dared to say a word. The silver fox was the heavens. Jiang Chen's eyes were wide open and his heart trembled. He looked at the silver fox with a ferocious expression. The lightning in his hands had already gradually gathered. From this moment on, all of you should rest. They will all receive the punishment they deserve. No one here will be able to leave alive. Jiang Chen's cold voice rang in the ears of the silver fox and everyone else. In their eyes, Jiang Chen was simply spouting nonsense. Right now, even a 3-year-old could see that Jiang Chen and the others had nowhere to retreat, but he still dared to boast shamelessly. Jiang Chen, I advise you to accept your death. Do you think you can do that? Do you want to continue being so arrogant? How much can a person who is about to die do? Haha. Hao Yunhang said disdainfully. Jiang Chen's gaze landed on Hao Yunhang, but at that moment, Hao Yunhang was actually glared back. Today, the people who will die will definitely be you. Not me, Jiang Chen. If you want to touch my brother, you will all die. Jiang Chen, you already have no path of retreat. Just surrender. Yun Gayao had a calm expression on her face, as though she was always indifferent. However, the hatred Jiang Chen felt for her was even more compared to Hao Yunhang. If it wasn't for her, how would his Qingqing end up like this? If it wasn't for her, he wouldn't have been separated from Qingqing for so long. After such a long period of separation, it was already extremely difficult for them to reunite again. Ha ha ha, the people of the world are laughing at me for being too crazy. Since all of you want to be my enemy, I, Jiang Chen, shall be the enemy of the entire world. So what? Today, I will unmask all of your hypocritical masks. Jiang Chen laughed maniacally. Many people thought that Jiang Chen had gone crazy. At this moment, shouldn't he be kneeling and begging for mercy? But in front of the silver fox, he was still acting so insolently. Could it be that he was trying to please the crowd? But even so, he didn't have much time left. All of you can be destroyed. Heavenly lightning, fuse. Jiang Chen's eyes flickered unceasingly. Streaks of lightning flickered in his eyes as the 5 bolts of heavenly lightning intertwined in his hands. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this scene. What was this fellow planning to do exactly? Shangguan Hongyan's countenance changed slightly. Why did the amount of heavenly lightning in Jiang Chen's hands increase again compared to before? Was this fellow planning to continue fusing the heavenly lightning? This bastard, how did he obtain so much heavenly lightning? Not only Shangguan Hongyan, Jun Tianchou, Yun Gayao, and Hao Yunhang were all staring at Jiang Chen, because they had all seen how terrifying Jiang Chen's fusion of heavenly lightning was. It was just that this time around, the amount of heavenly lightning Jiang Chen fused was much more than before. The silver fox's eyes flickered, feeling some trepidation in his heart. This fellow actually possessed so much heavenly lightning? Not only that, it was a total of 5 bolts of heavenly lightning. Each and every bolt of heavenly lightning was extremely terrifying. Not only that, heavenly lightning was so violent, how could it be fused together? Chapter 36-31. Silver Fox's killing intent surged. He had severely injured Jiang Chen's 3 brothers in order to force Jiang Chen to give in. However, this bastard had not retreated, but advanced instead. He even wanted to fight to the death with him. It seemed that if he didn't use some extreme methods, it would be impossible for him to obtain the secret of the Dao accumulation. Is little Chunzi courting death? Can he really control so many heavenly thunders? It seems like he doesn't have absolute confidence in doing so. De Huang said with a frown. He knew Jiang Chen very well, but he could see from his eyes that he was ready to fight to the death. In other words, he probably didn't have absolute confidence in fusing these 5 heavenly thunders. Otherwise, why didn't he fuse them from the beginning? It was his only chance to fight back at this time. If he failed, Jiang Chen would definitely be destroyed by the heavenly thunders. For De Huang, Jiang Chen was undoubtedly walking on a tightrope. It was extremely dangerous. Not necessarily. You've really underestimated him this time. This guy is quite good at fusing the heavenly thunders. However, it's the first time I've seen him use so many heavenly thunders. Tyrant said with a doubtful tone. When he reached the end of his sentence, he couldn't help but feel nervous. It was still unknown whether Jiang Chen could turn the situation around with the help of the fusion of heavenly lightning. Danger and hope coexist. I think this should be his last resort. Whether he succeeds or not, our lives are hanging by a thread. Even if it's a risk, he has to do it, Han Yen said in a low voice. He said what De Huang and Silver Fox were thinking. Jiang Chen did this because he was prepared to fail on the verge of success. If he was confident, he wouldn't have waited until this moment to accept the challenge of life and death. The heavenly thunders are extremely fierce and unruly. How can they be fused together? Boy, if you can really show me what it's like after the heavenly thunders are fused, I can spare your life. Silver Wolf crossed his arms over his chest and looked at Jiang Chen with great interest. He seemed to be very curious about Jiang Chen's fusion with the heavenly lightning. There's no need for you to spare my life. Let's see if you can survive the fusion of sky lightning. A bitter smile appeared on Jiang Chen's face. This was a battle to the death, a battle with their backs against the river. All of their lives depended on this. If they failed, none of them would be able to escape this calamity. However, Jiang Chen was filled with confidence in his fusion of heavenly lightning. The 5th bolt of heavenly lightning was the origin power of the Thunder God, universal heavenly sovereign. It was needless to say how terrifying it was. It was definitely not something an ordinary peak divine emperor could match up to. However, that was countless years ago. Although Little Thunder God was not as powerful as before, his origin power of lightning still had the power to destroy the world. Even the most powerful 1,000 flame destruction thunder in Jiang Chen's hands was filled with fear in the face of the Thunder God's origin power that had been separated from him. Jiang Chen had waited far too long for the fusion of 5 bolts of heavenly lightning. At this moment, he no longer had any hesitation. He believed that no one other than an emperor would be able to withstand this attack. Silver Wolf stared at Jiang Chen and waited silently. Jiang Chen did not disappoint him. In a flash, the 5 bolts of heavenly lightning had turned into a rainbow that gradually intertwined with each other. The origin power of heavenly lightning complemented each other and condensed together. With Thunder God's origin power of heavenly lightning as the center, the origin power of lightning completed the fusion. At that moment, Silver Wolf's expression finally became serious because at this moment, the entire mountain and sea sect seemed to be shaking. Can this guy really fuse the heavenly lightning? As the supreme elder of the mountain and sea sect, he definitely could not go back on his word. Since Jiang Chen had already fused with the heavenly lightning, he had to see if this guy could broaden his horizons. Shangguan Hongyan was a little anxious, but the supreme elder of the mountain and sea sect would definitely not listen to his words. Furthermore, at this time, the 5 bolts of heavenly lightning in Jiang Chen's hands had already fused together, and the danger seemed to be expanding bit by bit. Shangguan Hongyan's heart still had lingering fear as she summoned the 4 Han brothers back. This guy, it's very likely that more than half of the mountain and sea sect will be destroyed in a single day. Shangguan Hongyan muttered. Back then, his soul essence puppet had seen Jiang Chen's heavenly lightning fusion, which was why Shangguan Hongyan was so secretive. And now, it was 5 bolts of heavenly lightning. Who knew how this guy did it? But the danger made him uneasy. The surrounding mountain peaks were constantly trembling. The flowers and trees were all broken, and the wild beasts in the mountains were fleeing in all directions. This caused everyone to become incomparably serious as they looked at Jiang Chen's heavenly lightning that had already completely fused together. They even felt their hearts palpitate. Could the Supreme Elder of the Mountain and Sea Sect, Silver Fox, really have the confidence to take on Jiang Chen's attack? No one knew, but at this time, they were becoming more and more terrified. Even though they were outside the endless void and were paying attention to this battle, even the spectators felt their mouths go dry. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Thunderclaps that shook people's hearts exploded in the void. Everything in the surroundings trembled violently. Dark clouds covered the sun and ghosts shocked the sky. Pitch-black thunderclouds rolled for 1,000 miles, covering the entire mountain and sea sect. Supreme Elder this. Liao Yunxing looked at Jiang Chen with lingering fear in his heart. At this moment, his worry had already risen to the extreme. But on the other side, with the Supreme Elder overseeing things, he didn't know what to say. However, although Liao Yunxing was worried, with Elder Silver Fox present, it would not be easy for Jiang Chen to shake the mountain and sea sect. This guy, looks like he's really going to cause a big commotion. De Huang's eyes grew brighter and brighter as a smile appeared on his face. The bigger the better. It would be best if this attack could directly destroy his mountain and sea sect and spread his name throughout the central state. That would be satisfying. The black and white saint emissaries and the 3 great elders of the dragon clan were also ready to attack. They clenched their fists tightly, waiting for Jiang Chen's attack to stir up the thunderclouds of the 9 heavens and stir up the sky. The heavenly lightning fused and converged together. At this moment, a colorful lightning lotus was slowly formed in Jiang Chen's palm. The dazzling radiance was so bright that no one dared to look at it directly. The terrifying lightning lotus was dazzling and the sound of thunder rumbled. Accept your judgment. Even if you're a god, you must kneel before me. Everyone will submit. Jiang Chen let out an angry roar. The rainbow in his hand instantly flew out, causing the entire sky to become filled with lightning. Accompanied by rolling thunderclouds, a bolt of lightning descended from the 9 heavens. Chapter 36-32. Thunderclouds rose from the 9 heavens and chaos rose. Like a stormy sea, it swept across the sky. Everyone held their breath and watched silently as the 5-colored lotus flower that Jiang Chen had thrown out gradually bloomed in the sky. It was like a rainbow, incomparably resplendent and dazzling, making people unable to open their eyes. Everyone felt as if their hearts were about to jump out of their chests. The entire mountain and sea sect seemed to be collapsing. Great rivers flowed, snow mountains collapsed, and wind and thunder roared, shaking the world. Run! It was unknown who shouted it, but Shangguan Hongyan and Liao Yunxing both felt a trace of despair. The lightning energy released by the terrifying 5-colored lotus had completely enveloped the entire space within 5,000 kilometers. There was no longer any space left for them to escape. Brother Shangguan, be careful. Han Feng and the other 3 took Shangguan Hongyan away and kept retreating. Liao Yunsheng took out the mountain protection talisman. There was only one thought in their hearts, and that was to escape. The further they escaped, the better, because they no longer had any desire to resist Jiang Chen's attack. Under the fusion of the 5 bolts of lightning, the terrifying pressure was like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The world changed, and even Jiang Chen was completely shocked. He had not expected it to be so domineering. The towering mountains continued to collapse, and the mountain and sea sect's 8,000 miles of mountain range were all turned into powder. Peng Lang's face was deathly pale. His determination to fight to the death was completely shaken at this moment. The Baji sect could not do without him. Therefore, he did not dare to collide with Jiang Chen's attack. He was afraid that he would be obliterated in the long river of history, and turned into ashes by the supreme power of the lightning. Yun Gayao, Hao Yunhang, and the others also changed their expressions. They wanted to retreat, but it was already too late. The black and white saint emissaries of the Dragon Clan used all their strength to resist the attack, but the result made everyone's jaws drop. The 5 late Divine Emperor realm experts were directly sent flying at this moment, without any room to resist. The lightning continued. The five-colored lotus blossomed with a shocking halo of lightning, turning into an aurora that pierced through the world. The first to bear the brunt was naturally the silver fox. At that moment, the silver fox felt a sense of suffocation, as if he was facing a great enemy. After so many years, he had never thought that a mere mid-divine emperor realm would be able to force him to this step. If he succeeded in fusing the 5 bolts of lightning, it would be an epic disaster. The silver fox roared and formed a seal with both hands. He could not retreat. He was the glory of the mountain and sea sect, and he had even boasted that he would definitely block Jiang Chen attack. The silver fox's expression was cold as he gave it his all. But in the face, in the terrifying aurora that Jiang Chen heavenly lightning fused with heavens. The silver fox used all his strength, but he could only hold on for 10 breaths of time before he was repelled by the terrifying lightning. The aurora shone, the sky changed color, the 5 bolts of lightning struck the sky, and the world became one. It was a devastating blow. No one could have expected that things would turn out so badly. The silver fox, who was originally full of confidence, was dumbfounded at this moment. Because he gave it his all, but he could only hold on for 10 breaths of time before he could no longer compete with the heavenly lightning. The terrifying lightning wreaked havoc in the sky, spreading in all directions. Whether it was Jun Tianqiu, Dou Zhaoning, Yun Gayao, or Hao Yunheng, they were all turned into ashes in this terrifying lightning domain. At that moment, Jiang Chen was like the controller of heavenly lightning, holding 5 bolts of lightning in his hand. Wherever the light passed, all lives would cease to exist. But the silver fox's strength was indeed terrifying. It even made Jiang Chen feel extremely solemn. No one could withstand his heavenly lightning fusion, but the silver fox lasted for 10 breaths of time. He bore the brunt of the impact, but he also negated the explosive effect of the heavenly lightning fusion, directly reducing the strength of Jiang Chen's heavenly lightning fusion. But at that moment, the silver fox still clenched his teeth. He knew that it was impossible, but he still did it. He was the last line of defense of the mountain and sea sect. If even he was defeated, then the mountain and sea sect would truly be destroyed. So no matter what, the silver fox did not give up. With the addition of the 4 Han brothers, the black and white saint emissaries of the dragon clan, Peng Lang, and the others, the impact was naturally much smaller. But the 4 Han brothers all stood in front of Shangguan Hongyan, allowing her to escape. But the 4 of them had already been completely destroyed by the power of the heavenly lightning lotus. They had no way of fighting back at all. Hence, no matter what, he did not give up. With the 4 Han brothers, the dragon clan's black and white saint envoys, Peng Lang, and the others' attacks were naturally much weaker. However, the 4 Han brothers all stood in front of Shangguan Hongyan, allowing her to avoid the disaster. But the 4 of them had already had their souls and bodies completely destroyed by the explosions of the lotuses formed by the power of heavenly lightning. They could not fight back at all. Peng Lang was heavily injured and no longer had any strength to fight. He was in an even more miserable state than Liao Yunsheng. Liao Yunsheng was backed by the mountain and sea sect, and the mountain protection talisman was also a treasure passed down by the mountain and sea sect. Without the mountain protection talisman, he would not have been able to escape with his life. Jun Tianqiu, Yun Gayao, Hao Yunheng, and Dou Zhaoning all died because they could not survive. Jiang Chen's attack had caused more than half of the mountain sea sect's mountain peaks to collapse. Half of the onlookers were killed. Only the ones who were furthest away were spared. Pfft! The silver fox coughed out a mouthful of blood and knelt on one knee. He was already at the end of his tether, and had used up all of his strength to resist most of Jiang Chen's power. Otherwise, under the fusion of the heavenly lightning, if he did not resist it, the entire mountain and sea sect and everyone else would have died without a burial ground. The silver fox knew that he was ridiculously wrong, but there was no medicine for regret in this world. Even if he blocked it, he might not be able to guarantee that Jiang Chen would not release the fusion of the heavenly lightning, and the ending might not be even more perfect. It was just that he had underestimated his enemy too much, and thought that Jiang Chen was already a dead man. However, this fellow who was struggling at death's door had actually made all of them pay the price. No one was an exception, and even the few of them who had survived were all hanging by a thread. 2/3 of the mountain and sea sect's mountain range had already been razed to the ground. It was so tragic that no one could bear to look at it. The mountain and sea sect was facing the greatest danger of annihilation in hundreds of millions of years. Silence. Deathly silence. Jiang Chen stood there like an old pine tree, but he had long since collapsed. After using the last of the power of the heavenly lightning fusion, he could be considered to have completed his mission. The entire mountain and sea sect was no different from being destroyed. Fuck. Little Chenzi, you're too fucking awesome. Ha ha ha. De Huang let out a wild roar, sweeping away the haze from before. It was as if he had finally let out a mouthful of anger. Jiang Chen glanced at De Huang and the others and smiled. They had finally defeated these damned bastards. Han Yen and Tyrant also revealed smiles. They had won, sinking the entire mountain and sea sect. They had won. They didn't have to die. Silver Fox had a dejected look on his face. He had nothing left to live for. The mountain and sea sect was destined to be destroyed. Rumble. A deafening roar resounded from beneath the collapsed mountain, reverberating through the 9 heavens. The great river flowed, the mountain stood tall, and the wind and rain filled the sky. The mountain was like a dragon, and the sea was like a beast. A giant beast that was tens of thousands of feet tall seemed to be slowly rising. If you read the dragon-marked war god and felt that you were in high spirits and killing in all directions, but you still felt that what you got on paper was too shallow, and your heart was filled with regret, then Xueqi would recommend the game Expedition mobile game to you. I believe that it will give you the satisfaction of galloping on the battlefield. December 20th, Xueqi personally led the team to the new server with her fellow readers. Chapter 36-33. What is that? From the looks of it, it looks like a mountain. It's huge. That seems to be a ferocious beast. An ancient ferocious beast. Could it be the mountain and sea sect's guardian beast? I'm not sure. This is too terrifying. I feel that the sky above our heads seems to be completely covered by this guy. Is it night or day right now? The group of people silently looked at the sky. Even the people from the mountain and sea sect did not know what kind of existence it was, because it was simply too big. Rather than saying that it was like a mountain, it would be better to say that it was like a mountain that rose from the ground. It was majestic and spectacular, causing people to exclaim in admiration. Moreover, it carried an incomparable pressure, causing everyone present to feel suffocated. This is the mountain and sea beast? Peng Lang's face was deathly pale as he silently stared at the gigantic beast that was tens of thousands of feet tall. His heart was rather perturbed. Liao Yunxing looked at the Supreme Elder Silver Fox and asked in a low voice, "Supreme Elder, is this really our mountain and sea sect's guardian beast?" Even Liao Yunxing did not dare to be negligent in the slightest. His face was solemn. In the mountain and sea sect, even he did not know that there was such an incomparably terrifying beast. It was so big that it made people's scalps go numb. Silver Fox nodded. His expression was solemn and stern, but soon after, he bowed slightly towards the 100,000 feet large beast. This is my mountain and sea sect's guardian beast. It is also an ancient divine beast. It is even more ancient than countless divine beasts. Even I thought that it had completely fallen in the ancient war. I never thought that it would actually turn into a mountain peak and silently protect my mountain and sea sect for hundreds of millions of years. Silver Fox was clearly in disbelief, but the appearance of the mountain and sea beast caused him to feel a trace of palpitation. Back then, the mountain and sea beast was extremely ferocious and invincible. It followed the first-generation sect master of the mountain and sea sect to travel the 4 seas and conquer the 8 wastelands. It was the true totem of the mountain and sea sect, and its might was greater than the heavens and the earth. Motherfucker! Isn't this thing a little too abnormal? 30,000 meters tall. That's even bigger than a mountain. That's a true transformation of the mountains and seas. De Huang could not help but say, his brows tightly knitted. The surrounding mountains continued to sink, and beneath the ground, the rivers flowed and the waves surged. More than half of the mountain and sea sect had already been submerged by the scarlet water, and the raging waves slapped against the shore, sweeping up 1,000 layers of snow. Could this thing be the mountain and sea sect's mountain-protecting divine beast? By the looks of it, he seems to be even more terrifying than this Supreme Elder Silver Wolf. Tyrant murmured. His heart was once again filled with raging waves. Their path of survival was truly filled with twists and turns. This was simply sealing off all their paths of retreat, making it hard for anyone to breathe. Such a great momentum was enough to make one's heart tremble. He's not simple, Han Yen said coldly. He stared unblinkingly at the monstrous beast that was slowly rising into the sky. You don't even need to say that. De Huang rolled his eyes at Han Yen. This guy's mouth was full of nonsense. Right now, their situation was truly worrying. After defeating a silver fox, another mountain and sea beast had appeared. Now, De Huang finally understood one thing. In this life-and-death battle, the drawbacks of fighting in an away game were simply too great. You simply did not know how many terrifying trump cards your opponent had. However, to the Mountain and Sea sect, not to mention the Mountain Lord Liao Yunxing, even the Supreme Elder did not know that there was such a monstrous beast from the primordial era hidden under their sect. To them, this was undoubtedly good news. Jiang Chen did not bat an eyelid. He silently stared at it, but in his heart, he had already begun to sigh. Right now, he could only place all his hopes on the ancestral Dragon Emperor. He was truly helpless. It's Fei. Big Fei. In the past, the sect leader of the Mountain and Sea sect had two great primordial beasts. One of them was the little Fei. It looked like a quail, with a yellow body and a red beak. Its name was Little Fei. The second one is the Big Fei, which is this guy in front of us. It has 6 legs and 4 wings. It looks like a sky demon. When it sees it, it will cause a drought and everything will dry up. However, it was said that this guy was killed by the primordial god Fu. Why is it still here? The ancestral Dragon Emperor's voice was incomparably low. His voice seemed to have become a little hoarse. This ancient beast Fei was not to be trifled with. It was so powerful that even in the primordial era, it was famous for its ferocity. Even the ancestral Dragon Emperor was afraid of it. I've only heard of it. There's more than one giant beast in the Mountain Sea sect. There are more than 10 of them that are comparable to me when I was at my peak. The most terrifying ones are the Kuan and the Phoenix. This Big Fei doesn't seem to be easy to deal with. Although I've never fought against it, I've heard of its ferocity. With its current might, I'm far from being able to fight against it. The ancestral Dragon Emperor did not know much about the Big Fei. However, this description had already made Jiang Chen feel despair. Just how terrifying was this guy? 6 legs and 4 wings. Its back was like a barren mountain. When it completely rose from the ground, the entire Mountain and Sea sect was shaken. This guy already has the might of the Emperor realm. It must have been even stronger back then. However, it's now heavily injured. The giant beast of the Mountain and Sea sect is extremely terrifying. Little Thunder God said in an extremely low voice. At this moment, he did not forget to give Jiang Chen a head-on blow. This is simply too terrifying. Are we really going to wait for death? Jiang Chen said with a bitter smile as he shook his head helplessly. Jiang Chen could feel that the Big Fei's soul force was not any weaker than his own. Moreover, there was no need to mention its strength. This made him filled with doubt, because the Big Fei's strength seemed to be unstable. However, even so, it was still stronger than the silver fox. That was enough. Mountain and Sea Fei. Ha ha, our Mountain and Sea sect is invincible. Greetings, Elder Fei. The silver fox said in a deep voice. His voice was extremely solemn and respectful. This was the symbol of their Mountain and Sea sect, the totem of their Mountain and Sea sect. Now that the Mountain and Sea sect was in trouble, the divine mountain guardian beast, the Fei, was finally revealed. How long have I been asleep? 1,000 years? Or 10,000 years? A heavy and oppressive voice reverberated across the skies, accompanied by deafening thunder. The gigantic beast flapped its 4 wings, causing the great river to surge and the yellow river to roar. Above the skies, a hurricane suddenly rose. Except for the divine Emperor realm experts, everyone else was blown thousands of miles away. Our Mountain and Sea sect is finally going to be revived. Ha ha! Chapter 36-34. Liao Yunsheng was very clear that as long as he recuperated for a period of time, the Mountain and Sea sect would definitely be restored to its former glory. In fact, it would be even more terrifying and powerful than before. It was not impossible for it to surpass the Martial Dan Hall and the Buddha Pagoda. Reporting to Elder Fei, it's not 1,000 years, nor is it 10,000 years, but an era. The silver fox said in a deep voice. At that moment, its body began to tremble slightly, to the point where no one could see its head. An era. Has it already been an era? Billions of years. It's like a dream. The Fei murmured. Its figure covered the sun and the sky as it traversed the world. The Mountain and Sea sect was already in a mess. Who was it that woke me up from my dream? You dare to behave atrociously in the Mountain and Sea sect? This is simply absurd. All of you must die. The Fei's words were like the judgment of the death god. The entire sky became incomparably loud. Jiang Chen and the others could already feel the mountain and sea beast locking onto them. This time, let's see who can save you. Peng Lang looked at Jiang Chen. The guardian beast of the mountain and sea sect had truly shocked them. But at this time, the person who should be worried was Jiang Chen. Originally, even he thought that Jiang Chen would definitely be able to laugh until the end. That attack was something that even the silver fox could not compare to. But he never thought that the situation would be reversed at this time. The guardian beast of the mountain and sea sect, even Liao Yunsheng, were filled with shock. This was definitely not an act. Back then, Liao Yunsheng's eyes of despair were enough to explain everything. Even their supreme elder was afraid of this mountain and sea beast Fei. De Huang and the others were already at their wits' end, and were completely at their wits' end. Han Yen and Tyrant silently stood behind Jiang Chen. Right now, they had no other choice. To be able to live and die with Jiang Chen was already their greatest wish. Since they could not escape, then accepting the baptism of death was not impossible. Their heads could be broken, their blood could flow, but they could not lose their pride. The haze of despair once again shrouded everyone's hearts. You are indeed very strong, but compared to our mountain and sea sect, you are just a drop in the ocean. Silver Wolf stared at Jiang Chen quietly. This person had nearly caused his name to go down in history and brought about a great disaster. If the divine mountain guardian had not appeared in time, he might not have been able to control the current situation. In the eyes of the people of the mountain and sea sect, all of this was Jiang Chen's own fault, and no one else could be blamed for it. Amitabha, Elder Fei, I'm a disciple of the West Pole States Buddhist sect. Today, I've come to capture my evil disciple, Tyrant. I hope Elder Fei can forgive me. Shi Yun said in a low voice with a solemn expression. You better not let me see you again. You and that group of ox-nosed Taoists, claiming to be the orthodox of the world, are not good people, Fei said in a low voice. Shi Yun, Zhilian, and Wu Yan all had ugly expressions on their faces. This Fei's words were extremely sarcastic, saying that they and the ox-nosed Taoists were not good people. This was a complete insult. However, Shi Yun and the others could only brace themselves and did not dare to say a word. After all, this terrifying mountain and sea giant beast could kill them all in a fit of anger. Although it had been asleep for 10,000 years, Fei was very clear that it could not attract more enemies for the mountain and sea sect. Otherwise, it would put the mountain and sea sect in the eye of the storm. Although the ox-nosed Taoist and the people of the Buddhist sect were full of ridicule and disdain for the mountain and sea giant beasts, that was a matter from hundreds of millions of years ago. Today, the Buddhist sect was still around, which showed how terrifying it was. Shi Yun and the others had cold expressions on their faces. They must bring Tyrant back to the West Pole Divine region. This was a matter of the Buddhist sect, so they must use the methods of the Buddhist sect to solve it. Lord Divine Envoys, we should also leave. Otherwise, we won't be able to obtain any benefits here. The great elder of the Dragon Clan said in a low voice and sighed. As long as Jiang Chen died, it was already the greatest revenge for them. As for the thing in Jiang Chen's hand, it was almost impossible for them to obtain it. With the mountain and sea giant beast Fei here, they would definitely not be able to obtain any benefits. What a good fire qilin. What a delicious meal, he he he. Fei's voice caused the fire qilin to tremble. However, things had already come to this. Even Jiang Chen could not escape from this calamity. It was also destined to die here. You are also a divine beast. After eating you, I can recover some of my profound qi. The fire qilin was also an ancient divine beast. To the Fei, if it could devour it, it would definitely benefit a lot. In front of this 10,000 zhang tall giant, everyone felt extremely powerless. It was an irreversible existence. What else could they do? Ancestral Dragon Emperor, Little Thunder God, aren't you both experts from the ancient era? Why can't you do anything now? Am I really going to just eat and wait for death? Jiang Chen said hopelessly. I don't have a physical body. Even if I have one, the current me will most likely lose against the Fei. The ancestral Dragon Emperor was also filled with despair. If Jiang Chen died, he would definitely turn into ashes. However, he really had no other way. The Fei was a mountain and sea giant beast in the ancient era. It was not any weaker than the ancestral Dragon Emperor when he was at his peak. Although it was no longer as powerful as it was in the past, it had its own supreme physical body. If you can't win, then you can't win. Just wait for death. Little Thunder God's words made Jiang Chen speechless. What the fuck, do you have to be so real? Now all of you can die. You have violated the dignity of my mountain and sea sect. You deserve to die. The Fae said in a deep voice. It flapped its wings, stirring up a 10,000 zhang tall gale and a monstrous wave. Jiang Chen and the others were all blown away. They were in a sorry state and were on the verge of death. Jiang Chen looked at it coldly, feeling worried. Am I really going to die here? After entering the divine world, he had yet to see his beloved Xiao Yu. Was everything going to end here? Die. The Fae took a step forward like a 10,000 zhang tall mountain. The pupils of Jiang Chen and the others shrunk. They felt incomparable despair. The crisis of death spread out at this moment. Boom! Just when everyone thought that Jiang Chen and the others would die without a doubt, a white figure lifted the Fae with one hand. Jiang Chen's eyes gradually locked as he silently looked at the white-clothed woman in front of him. In the blink of an eye, she was devastatingly beautiful, as cold as frost, and shook the 9 heavens. In just a few decades, you were actually able to force the mountain and sea sect to reveal everything. It really surprised me. The woman looked at Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. He didn't know if the woman in front of him was praising him or insulting him. Chapter 36-35. Even so, it's not as powerful as a single palm of yours. Jiang Chen smiled awkwardly, feeling helpless. But at this moment, the crisis was finally averted. Facing the unstoppable Fae, there was nothing he could do. But her appearance had given Jiang Chen and the others a chance. Jiang Chen looked at the void silently. His eyes narrowed gradually. That beautiful face, that proud figure, they were like suet jade, shining brilliantly, unblasphemous. She was like a god, standing in the void, unmoving like a mountain. The white-clothed woman moved her palm, and with a flip of her palm, her tiny figure forced the Fae to retreat, causing the entire sky to tremble. The air buzzed, and countless experts covered their faces as they retreated in panic. Who is this woman? She's so beautiful. Is she another girl that little Chenzi has been courting? De Huang said with a smirk, looking ambiguously at Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen glared at him fiercely, but he felt a little bitter in his heart. He didn't expect that she would take the initiative to help him in this moment of crisis. It was simply too surprising. Jiang Chen didn't know her identity, nor did Jiang Chen know where she came from. It had been decades since they last met, and they had long forgotten about each other. But when he was in danger, she stood up for him, which made Jiang Chen's heart filled with all sorts of emotions. After parting at the Luo Foam Gorge, he thought that they would be separated forever, but the ending was very surprising. Jiang Chen looked at the white-clothed woman in a daze. She's actually so strong? Back then, her strength should have been damaged. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been his turn to save her. But today, it seemed that he had saved a super-invincible expert. Even the mountain sea giant beast, the Fae, was forced back by a single palm. It was extremely terrifying. This scene was something that no one had expected. The white-clothed woman, who seemed to be light, was able to easily repel the Fae. It was simply shocking. Who is she? How could it be so terrifying? A wave of shock rose in Peng Lang's heart. The situation had changed once again. Her appearance caused the entire mountain and sea sect to become ice-cold. The temperature plummeted, and the Fae above the 9 heavens was also incomparably grim. Who are you? You even dare to interfere in the matters of my mountain and sea sect. You're courting death. Fae said in a deep voice. Both of them were facing each other in the void. However, the white-robed woman was cold as ice. She didn't show any signs of backing down. A mere mountain sea sect dares to threaten me? Do you really think that the Central Region Divine Land is your mountain sea sect's territory? The woman said coldly. Everyone was silently guessing who this woman was. She had such a demeanor and dared to challenge the mountain and sea sect. There was no need to say much about her strength. She was able to force the mountain and sea sect's giant beast, the Fae, to retreat. It was obvious how terrifying she was. It's her. Little Thunder God's words were filled with shock. He had never imagined that he would actually see such a peerless beauty here. The ancestral Dragon Emperor was also slightly shocked. Although he felt that this woman was incomparably familiar, he couldn't remember who she was at all. The ancient war caused many people to die in the endless river of time. As for those who were still alive, most of them had lost their memories. They had lost a lot of memories of the ancient war. Even those who survived were truly peerless experts or people with great abilities. The ancestral dragon emperor's body had been destroyed and his soul had been extinguished. Only a remnant soul was left. After experiencing countless years, he was able to return to the divine world. As for little thunder god, he had also been nurtured for countless years. In the land of death, he had only left behind a little memory. The 9 heavens responding thunder, the heavenly sovereign, had also become a weak youth. Who is she? The ancestral dragon emperor and Jiang Chen were both incomparably confused. The Buddhist sex war god. 8 sex pagoda. Little thunder god said in a low voice. The ancestral dragon emperor frowned as if he had some memories. However, the Buddhist sex war god. 8 sex pagoda. These few words were enough to show how terrifying this woman was. She's from the Buddha pagoda. Jiang Chen stared at her silently. His heart was incomparably complicated. Is she really from the Buddha pagoda? I was actually saved by someone from the Buddha pagoda? It's really ironic. His beloved was captured by the Buddha pagoda time and time again. He hated the Buddha pagoda to the core. However, in the end, she was saved by someone from the Buddha pagoda. This made Jiang Chen feel very emotional. She's Reverend Bo Ri pagoda. There were countless experts in the Buddhist sect. Even in the Archean era, they were quite powerful. Among these experts, the Mahasvara Bodhisattva and the 8 divisional stupa were the most terrifying experts in the Buddhist sect. The Prajna Buddha was one of them. She was able to survive the Archean war. There was no need to doubt her strength. Even I wasn't sure how terrifying such a person was back then. However, it was said that the 8 sex pagoda had betrayed the Buddhist sect. However, the woman in front of me is indeed the Reverend Bo Ri pagoda. Even with her current strength, she should be an existence that surpasses the Emperor realm. Little Thunder God said in a low voice. Of course, only Jiang Chen and the ancestral dragon emperor could hear him clearly. Who are you? Fei asked in a deep voice. He also felt that this person was not ordinary, but he didn't know where she came from. Even if your master was here, he might not speak to me like this. The mountain and sea sect is too arrogant, isn't it? To start such a massacre, it seems like I can't just stand by and watch. Bo Ri Pagoda said coldly. It's her. She's really one of the 8 sex pagoda, Bo Ri Pagoda. Yun said with a pale face. Only the last remaining Arhat disciple of the Buddhist sect could support the 10 great monasteries. However, the Arhats that the 10 great monasteries worshipped were unable to withstand a single blow from the 8 sex pagoda. Yun had seen it in the ancient books of the Buddhist sect. As the strongest war god of the Buddhist sect in the ancient era, the 8 sex pagoda's evaluation was quite high. It was the strongest expert under the Buddha. A stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. The entire mountain and sea sect was silent. Fei also became silent. The Buddhist sect's war god, the 8 sex pagoda, this person's background was simply too great. However, today, the mountain and sea sect was almost destroyed. If it wasn't for him being shaken awake, perhaps the mountain and sea sect would really be finished. At this time, how could Fei let the culprit, Jiang Chen, go so easily? Even if there was one of the 8 sex pagoda, the Reverend Bo Ri, to help him, so what? As a mountain sea beast, it also had its own dignity. Moreover, most of the experts from the ancient era had already fallen. There were very few who survived. This so-called Buddhist sex war god, the 8 sex pagoda, might not necessarily be able to let him die here. Chapter 36-36. Buddha sex war god. I, the Fei, am ignorant and inexperienced. I would like to experience the might of the god of war. The Fei roared and once again punched out. As he waved his fist, the sky and earth changed color. He was simply too huge. The strong wind that was stirred up had already caused the sky and earth to spin. The Prajna Stupa's expression was solemn. He was unmoving like a mountain. In the blink of an eye, he formed a seal with his palm. As soon as the seal appeared, a thunderous force swept across the sky. The two incredible forces intertwined. Jiang Chen's pupils shrank and his expression changed. This force was something that he could not resist at the moment. It was filled with an unparalleled pressure. Is this the power of an Emperor realm expert? Jiang Chen murmured. This was also the thought of countless people present. No one knew whether the Fei, the mountain sea giant, would be able to crush the Buddha sect's war god, or the Prajna Stupa. This battle was the focus of everyone's attention. Jiang Chen was also looking forward to it. Evil creature, get lost. The swastika in the Prajna Stupa's hand shook the heavens and earth. The Fei was pushed back. Every step it took caused the earth to tremble and the mountains to shake. After 10 steps, the Fei staggered and panted like thunder. The Prajna Stupa stood there calmly, causing an uproar. Especially the people of the Mountain Sea sect. For a moment, they were speechless. I admit defeat. The might of a venerable is not something I can compare to. The Fei said in a low voice with a trace of respect. He did not dare to act rashly again. His words also caused everyone's breathing to stagnate. They did not dare to have any other thoughts. Countless people looked up at the figure in the sky that was as powerful as the heavens. The woman was as light as the wind and her expression was calm. She brought with her a supreme beauty that made the world lose its color. Jiang Chen's heart trembled. The Buddha sect's war god was simply too terrifying. The 8-divisional pagoda, and it was just a venerable pagoda. Jiang Chen's expression became extremely ugly. He knew how difficult it would be for him to become an enemy of the pagoda. It could even be said to be a fantasy. If a single pagoda was already like this, what if the 8-divisional pagoda joined hands? Wouldn't he be invincible in the world? At least at this moment, Jiang Chen was filled with respect and gratitude towards Prajna Pagoda. The fate that had formed between him and her had never crossed his mind that she would save his life at this moment. This was indeed the cycle of the heavens and fate. Jiang Chen felt a little hopeless due to the Prajna Pagoda's strength. It goes without saying how terrifying the pagoda's strength was. With his current strength, it was almost impossible for him to fight against the pagoda. Therefore, he must continue to increase his strength and break through to the Emperor Realm as soon as possible. Only Emperor Realm experts could stand at the peak of the divine world. Although many people said that Emperor Realm experts no longer existed in this world, what they saw today was a slap in everyone's face. Emperor Realm experts still existed. It was just that one's vision was not enough. Without entering the world of experts, one would not understand how powerful they were. Emperor Realm. I must reach the Emperor Realm. Jiang Chen clenched his fists as he stared at the Prajna Stupa with mixed feelings. May I ask, Venerable Pagoda, are you fighting on behalf of the pagoda? The silver fox clasped his hands together and asked respectfully. What does it have to do with you who I'm fighting for? The Prajna Stupa was as cold as ice. As she spoke, it was as if thousands of swords were raining down at the same time. Silver Fox subconsciously retreated and knelt on the ground, his face pale. At this moment, he realized that his words were taboo to the Prajna Stupa. His heart trembled, afraid that the Prajna Stupa would kill him in a fit of anger. Even the mountain sea giant Fei could not compete with it. The silver fox's face was naturally full of shame, and his heart was filled with sorrow. Today's matter ends here. I don't want to kill anyone. You can all leave. The Prajna Stupa's voice was calm, but it was filled with unquestionable authority. The power of an expert was fully displayed. Even Jiang Chen had the urge to kneel down and worship it. An Emperor Realm expert was terrifying. Everyone was filled with endless emotions. Whether it was the Mountain Sea sect, the Baji sect, the Dragon Clan, or the 3 great temples of the West Pole, they were all filled with helplessness. The people of the West Pole did not dare to show the slightest dissatisfaction towards the Prajna Stupa. For them, regardless of whether the 8-divisional stupa had betrayed the Buddhist sect or not, she was still the most ancient true god of the Buddhist sect. With their mortal bodies, it was impossible for them to compete with her. This battle was earth-shattering. The Mountain Sea sect suffered countless casualties, and in the end, they could only die with a grudge. After all, the Prajna Stupa was one of the 8 divisional stupas of the Buddha Pagoda. It was unimaginably terrifying. In today's battle, they could only blame their own bad luck. A defeat was a defeat, and there was no complaint. They could only blame themselves for being inferiors. But Jiang Chen had escaped this calamity, and everyone would definitely take it to heart. Today, the Prajna Stupa protected him, and there was still a long way to go. Jiang Chen was destined to offend more than half of the people in the central region Divine Land. The new head of the Jun family, Jun Tianchou, had died at the hands of Jiang Chen. The head of the Dou clan, Dou Zhaning, had died a violent death. Yun Guyao and Hao Yunhang, the 2 disciples of the Buddha Pagoda, had not been spared. The Mountain Sea sect had suffered countless casualties. It was like purgatory on earth. To Liao Yunxing, rebuilding the Mountain Sea sect was a long road. Ling Yun and Long Ying were both extremely excited. Their tears had long dried up. They had thought that they would die, but in the end, they had narrowly escaped death and escaped. All of this was because of the woman that they could not reach. What he asked is exactly what I want to know. Who exactly are you fighting for? Jiang Chen said via voice transmission. He looked at the Prajna Stupa with a burning gaze. The Prajna Stupa glanced at Jiang Chen and said indifferently, "Who are you fighting for, and what is the reason?" "It's very important to me," Jiang Chen said in a deep voice, causing the Prajna Stupa to be slightly startled. "Am I important to you, or is the Buddha Pagoda important to you?" The Buddha Pagoda is not something you can imagine. What you see is just the tip of the iceberg. Regardless of whether it's important to you or not, I still have to remind you. Don't become enemies with the Buddha Pagoda. Otherwise, you will definitely regret it. The Prajna Stupa said meaningfully, as if she was sighing. However, she more or less knew that the relationship between Jiang Chen and the Buddha Pagoda had already reached a point where they would not rest until one of them was dead. Yun Gayao and Hao Yunhang were also killed by him mercilessly. His relationship with the Buddha Pagoda was bound to become more and more intense. The hatred between me and the Buddha Pagoda is absolutely irreconcilable. I will settle this debt sooner or later. Of course it might not be now. Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. Every word was like a gem. You are really a stubborn person. You don't know life from death. The Prajna Stupa and Jiang Chen's gazes met. No one knew what was surfacing in their eyes or what they were talking about. Since you are so determined, I hope that when we meet again, we will not be strangers. Chapter 36-37. The Prajna Stupa's departure had left a deep impression on Jiang Chen. Most importantly, after this battle, he finally understood how childish his initial thoughts were. He couldn't compare to any of the Buddha halls in the pagoda. Any Buddha hall had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. An existence that surpassed the emperor realm was something that the current Jiang Chen couldn't contend against. The Prajna Stupa had advised him not to become enemies with the Buddha Pagoda in order to protect him. Although she hadn't said it out loud, to Jiang Chen, this was a silent bolt from the blue. Only he himself knew how difficult this step was. Although they'd narrowly escaped with their lives, and the Prajna Pagoda had taken great credit for becoming their savior, Jiang Chen couldn't forget that the Prajna Pagoda belonged to the Buddha Pagoda. If he wanted to become enemies with the pagoda and go against them, perhaps the only choice now was to join the Martial Dan Hall. However, it wasn't easy to join the Martial Dan Hall. As the only hall in the entire divine world that could rival the pagoda, the Martial Dan Hall had existed for countless years. It was impossible for him to have a life-and-death battle with the pagoda just because of his love affair. However, the only one that Jiang Chen hadn't defended in the Central Region Divine Land was the Martial Dan Hall. Escaping from death is worth celebrating. Little Chenzi, don't put on a bitter face. Big Yellow and Jiang Chen hugged each other tightly. This pair of brothers who had been separated for more than 100 years had finally met again. Both of them were speechless. Everything was understood without words. The four brothers looked at each other silently. At this moment, they were finally reunited again. They could go crazy without any restraints. It was as if they had returned to the carefree time in the 9 regions immortal world. "Oh right, these three. Are they all sisters-in-law?" De Huang looked at the 3 peerless beauties behind Jiang Chen. The corner of his mouth curved into a meaningful smile. "I'm not." Yuer's face turned red. She bit her lips and hid behind Ling Yun and Long Ying. She seemed a little disappointed, a little scared, and a little at a loss. "Don't worry, it will be in the future, haha," De Huang said with a smile. Yuer's face turned even redder. Her face was filled with awkwardness, but she felt that she was incomparably small. It was as if there was a huge mountain separating her from Ling Yun, Long Ying and Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen introduced Ling Yun and the others to each other. Long Ying and Ling Yun were like little birds that were relying on humans, silently standing behind Jiang Chen. However, Yuer felt that there shouldn't be a place for her there. "Little Chenzi, how did you create such a huge enmity with the pagoda? Even I, a person that never leaves the house, knows how terrifying the Buddha's pagoda is. You've offended them, so you won't have a good time in the future. Moreover, The person that saved us seems to be one of the 8 divisional pagodas? That was a big shot level figure, and he couldn't afford to offend him. Don't tell me you've flirted with him? Otherwise, why would the big shot of the Buddha's pagoda risk his life to save us in such a dangerous situation? De Huang looked at Jiang Chen with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. After so many years, little Chenzi's flirting skills had improved. Sigh, it's a long story. Little Yu's whereabouts are unknown. After entering the divine world from the 9 prefectures, I have never seen her again. Qingqing and Sister Ning are both in the hands of the Buddha's pagoda. Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. De Huang's face turned extremely cold. Han Yan and Tyrant also had the same expression. They looked at each other in dismay, and both of them were enraged. Buddha's pagoda. What a good Buddha's pagoda. Little Chenzi, even if we have to fight to the death, we have to rescue Sister Ning and the others. But Xiaoyu, don't you have any news at all? De Huang spoke with concern. He never imagined that so many unbelievable things would happen after he entered the divine realm. He had always been cultivating in the Luo God clan, but he never expected that Jiang Chen wouldn't be able to find any traces of Xiaoyu after so many years in the divine realm. This was the most worrying part. Their relationship was like family, especially De Huang, who had deep feelings for Xiaoyu and Sister Ning. At this moment, when he heard Jiang Chen's words, he couldn't be happy anymore. Now that we have caused such a huge disaster in the Mountain and Sea sect and offended half of the people in the Central Region Divine Land, our shelter will definitely become smaller and smaller. Han Yan said in a low voice. I probably won't be able to help you with your matters. I might have to leave. This time, I plan to go from the West Pole Divine Land to the Nantung Divine Land because I received a message from some venerable. Avalokitesvara might still be alive. I want to go to the South Pole Sea. Tyrant said in a sorrowful tone. He also wanted to be with his brothers, but in order to pursue the mystery of the Saraira and find his past life, Tyrant had a long way to go. He didn't dare to be the slightest bit negligent. Venerable Wood Spirit? Jiang Chen said. Yes, that's him. Avalokitesvara is an existence that is on par with the 8 divisional pagoda. I must find Avalokitesvara. The fall of the Buddhist sect is definitely not a coincidence. Moreover, the 10 great monasteries have been preventing me from finding any traces of the destruction of the Buddhist sect. It seems like they're trying to hide something. Tyrant frowned. With his strength alone, it was still inadequate. Therefore, he wanted to go to the South Pole Sea of the Nantung Divine Land to find Avalokitesvara. My head hurts. All of a sudden, Han Yan knelt on the ground. His face was ashen and his body was trembling non-stop. Both of his eyes were flickering with a blood-red light. His body was emitting a black mist and a monstrous demonic aura was continuously surging out from his body. At this moment, everyone's faces had turned extremely ugly. What the hell? There's so much monstrous demonic energy. What's going on with you? De Huang looked at Han Yan in astonishment. I swallowed a demon god. Han Yan's face was hideous. He was in extreme pain. Jiang Chen sucked in a breath of cold air. He swallowed a demon god? How terrifying was this guy? There seems to be a demon god's soul in his body. It's constantly attacking and trying to swallow Ah Yen. Jiang Chen said coldly. What should we do? Tyrant looked at Jiang Chen. Han Yan was howling in pain. He was holding his head and howling, and his voice was deafening. His eyes were filled with a blood-red color, and it had completely replaced his previous consciousness. It seemed like he had become extremely ruthless, and even his soul was tightly confined by the devilish energy. Tyrant looked at Jiang Chen. Seeing that Han Yan was being devoured by the demonic aura, he was in incomparable pain. He seemed to be on the verge of death as beads of sweat continuously dripped down his face. His entire face was covered in frost, causing one's heart to palpitate. Chapter 36-38. The demonic aura continued to spread out. Within Han Yan's body, streaks of terrifying black demonic shadows appeared, constantly changing and interweaving. You want to devour me? You're still too weak. A domineering voice resounded in Han Yan's mind. Han Yan didn't expect that a demon god's soul, which was so dispirited to the point of being unrecognizable, would actually make things so difficult for him. A terrifying demonic aura burst out, wanting to devour him. Han Yan knew that his greed had led to a disaster. Now, the demonic god seemed to be using the demonic aura in his body to nourish his nearly extinct demonic god soul. Now, Han Yen had yet to completely refine the demonic god soul. Instead, it had become a sore point for him. You want to devour me? Dream on. Ah! Han Yan's desperate roar made Jiang Chen's heart ache. His anger was overflowing. Looking at Han Yen in such pain, they could not do anything. There's still a demonic god in his body. Our only option now is to suppress it or destroy it. However, once it's destroyed, perhaps Yen will be affected. De Huang said solemnly. Use your god-suppressing monument and my demon-suppressing monument. Let's give it a try. Jiang Chen's heart shook. He looked at Tyrant. Both of them did not dare to be careless. Jiang Chen held the demon-suppressing monument in his hand, while Tyrant held the god-suppressing monument in his hand. Two terrifying monuments descended from the sky, directly suppressing Han Yen. The demonic god's soul in his mind seemed to be extremely terrified. No. This is impossible. God-suppressing monument, demon-suppressing monument. No. The terrifying demonic god's soul roared furiously in Han Yan's mind. It was even filled with shock and despair. It knew how terrifying the god-suppressing monument and demon-suppressing monument were. Not to mention the two divine monuments descending together. Even one divine monument was not something that it could contend against. But in the next moment, the demonic god's soul sensed that the person who used the two divine steels to suppress him wasn't as strong as he had imagined. He didn't even have the strength of an emperor. Even so, although he heaved a sigh of relief, he was still suppressed by Jiang Chen and Tyrant's demon-suppressing monument and god-suppressing monument. The demon god's soul gradually retracted, and Han Yan's complexion also recovered somewhat. However, he was still pale, and his eyes were bloodshot. Having survived a calamity, he let out a long breath. Thank you, little Chenzi. Monk. Without the two of you, I might have been devoured by this damned demon god's soul. Han Yen said bitterly. We're brothers, there's no need to be so polite. De Huang curled his lips and said. This demon god's soul should have just holed up. With our current strength, we are unable to completely suppress it to death. At the very most, we can make it depressed for 3 to 5 years. You should hurry up and get rid of this demon god soul. Otherwise, it will definitely become a great threat in the future. Jiang Chen said. Why wouldn't I want to? Back then, I accidentally found this dying and dispirited demon god soul. I thought it could help me increase my strength, but it has become a thorn in my side. Han Yen regretted his past actions. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have thought about it. Now, he was the one who was suffering. Different situations call for different actions. There will always be a way. Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. He patted Han Yan's shoulder, indicating that he didn't have to be too nervous. As long as you have a breakthrough in your strength, you will probably be able to stand up to him. During this period of time, don't leave my side. If your demon god's soul wreaks havoc, my demon-suppressing monument will still be able to suppress it. All right. Han Yen nodded. Seeing that Han Yen was fine, Tyrant said no more and prepared to leave. The Antarctic Sea of the Nantung Divine region was quite far, and the journey was long. All right, we won't keep you then. Monk. We will meet again. Jiang Chen and the others bid farewell to Tyrant. Monk, I will help you return in triumph. When I return, I will treat you to some meat. All right, it's a deal. When I return in triumph, let's have dog meat hot pot. Motherfucker. De Huang pointed his middle finger at Tyrant. Brother De Huang, don't you like puppies? I like them very much. Puppies are so cute. Long Ying said with a smile, looking at De Huang. Cough cough, of course I like them. De Huang said. That's right. Dog meat is so delicious. It's so cute. I heard that the cuter a puppy is, the tastier it is. Long Ying giggled. A black line appeared on De Huang's handsome face. In the end, he could only change the topic and look at Jiang Chen. This guy was still laughing silently, not saying a word. Right, where's that stinking brat, Longsher-san? De Huang asked with his brows knitted. This time, when Jiang Chen was in danger, Longsher-san did not appear. Where was that fellow? Or did he encounter danger and die? I don't know. We met once, but he left in a hurry. He has been searching for his origins, so he shouldn't be having a good time. Jiang Chen's expression was grim. Although Long San did not appear, Jiang Chen had been thinking about him. Looks like that brat isn't simple. He has relatives in the divine realm? Haha, I hope that I can beat him up when I see him. Big Yellow vowed solemnly. He was extremely confident in his own strength at the moment. 100 years of cultivation wasn't a joke. Furthermore, it was under the harsh conditions of the Luo God clan. With a thought, Jiang Chen activated the great divination art and his face gradually turned dark. East Victory Divine Continent. Long San is there. After a while, Jiang Chen finally opened his eyes and said in a low voice, "What's going on?" De Huang knew that nothing good would come from Jiang Chen's expression. 9 out of 10. De Huang and Han Yen exchanged a look. They were already prepared for this. Jiang Chen nodded his head. At this moment, there was no longer a place for him in the Middle Continent. As for entering the Martial Pellet Hall, it wasn't something that he could achieve in a short period of time. With the great divination art, he seemed to have seen something unbelievable. Putting it in a nutshell, it was a foregone conclusion that Long San would die. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. De Huang was raring to go. Long San's life was on the line, so there couldn't be any delay. It's been so many years since we last met. Long San, you fool. Don't make any mistakes. I still want to beat you up. De Huang murmured. All right. Jiang Chen nodded his head with a stern expression. The group continued their journey towards the East Victory Divine Continent. At this moment, De Huang transformed into a De Huang dog and stood beside Jiang Chen with his chest puffed out. At that moment, not only Long Ying but Ling Yun and Yu were also dumbfounded as they looked at De Huang in disbelief. Wasn't that handsome white-clothed young man just now good enough? At this moment, Long Ying revealed an awkward expression. She finally knew why De Huang's face was so yellow. Good news, friends. Xueqi has managed to secure exclusive benefits for Expedition Mobile Games' new server on the 20th of December. As long as you like Dragon-marked God of War and Xueqi, you can get it for free. Another reminder. 20th of December. Server 95. Chapter 36-39. In the eastern wasteland of the eastern continent, there were hundreds of thousands of miles of Caltrip Mountain. As the most mysterious mountain in the eastern continent, the Caltrip Mountain was also known as one of the top 10 deathlands of the divine world. Of course, it was full of beautiful scenery, but it was also full of endless dangers. There were countless people who went to the Caltrip Mountain in the eastern wasteland in search of the mystery of the top 10 deathlands, but all of them died in vain. For millions of years, no one had heard of the things that happened in the Caltrip Mountain. It was a place that countless people were curious about, but it was also forgotten by countless people. Whenever it was mentioned, the Caltrip Mountain was a place that made people stay away from it. There were innumerable demonic beasts and innumerable relics in this place. However, after countless years, the Caltrip Mountain had become a deathland. No one dared to step into it anymore. At this moment, however, the man in the Caltrip Mountain had a pale face. His body was covered in blood. He was leaning against a towering ancient tree, gasping for breath. Brother San, you mustn't die. Didn't you want to find out your origin? Didn't you want to be with me for the rest of your life? If you dare to die, I will never forgive you for the rest of my life. The lady bit her red lips and clutched Long San's hand tightly. Her eyes were filled with tears and tenderness. The two of them met in the West Pole Divine region and traveled to this place. There was no longer a place for them to stay in the eastern wasteland. Currently, Long San was severely injured and on the verge of death, but the corner of his mouth was still hanging a trace of an unruly smile. Don't worry. I, Long San, won't die so easily. Cough cough. Long San coughed twice and spat out a lot of blood. His body was already covered with sword and saber scars, but Lan Lingji was unharmed. He had stood in front of her silently countless times and bore countless injuries for her. That was why he ended up in such a miserable state. Lan Lingji lowered her head. Her cheeks were blurred by tears and stained with the yellow sand that had been blown away by the wind. However, she was still as beautiful as ever. Don't speak anymore. You must not speak anymore. Lan Lingji moved her hand and gently covered Long San's mouth. Her heart was already filled with sorrow. For her, Long San had almost lost his life. Lan Lingji knew that it was her fault for becoming Long Shersan's burden when she had just broken through to the Divine Emperor realm. Otherwise, no one would be able to stop him. Long Shersan smiled. His eyes were filled with tenderness and sweetness. As long as you are here, everything will be fine. Long Shersan's blood-stained hand gently stroked Lan Lingji's delicate face. Her beautiful face was still smiling, without a trace of melancholy. Even if I die, I will send you out of this caltrop mountain. Long Shersan held Lan Lingji's jade-like hand tightly and spoke in an unquestionable tone. I don't want you to die. I want you to leave with me. Lan Lingji was already sobbing uncontrollably. Her heart was filled with despair. She didn't know what she should do to let Long Shersan leave safely. Even if she had to pay with her life, she wouldn't hesitate. She didn't want to be a burden to him anymore. That kind of feeling made her heart ache. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to protect her and couldn't afford to be distracted, would he have ended up like this? Long Shersan clenched the golden stick in his hand tightly. He must not fall. He must not fall here. However, despite the hesitation in his heart, he knew that he couldn't give up. For the sake of his beloved, all he could do was to keep Lan Lingji safe and not let her suffer any harm. However, there were countless experts chasing after him. It wouldn't be easy for him to escape. Each of them was a Divine Emperor expert. There were more than 20 of them and each of them had experienced hundreds of battles. In this caltrop mountain, he had already experienced several battles. Although he had killed a part of them, he still couldn't get rid of these troubles. Now that he was forced into this desperate situation once again, Long Shersan only had one belief at the moment. He must protect Lan Lingji. Even at the cost of his reputation, he must let Lan Lingji leave the caltrop mountain. Long Shersan struggled to stand up slowly and looked back. There were tens of thousands of mountains that stretched as far as the eye could see. Wind and sand blew past. Everywhere was desolate. Even the sun didn't seem to be willing to shine on this place. The whole day was filled with the oppressive feeling of dark clouds, like a hell of death. After so many years, this time, he finally felt the crisis of life and death. In the face of those terrifying experts, he was alone and helpless. He had no other choice. As long as he could bring Lan Lingji out of this place safely, he would be more than satisfied. Looking at Lan Lingji's tearful eyes, Long Shersan's heart felt incomparably sour. All these years, whether it was in the 9 regions immortal world or now in the divine world, he had never given her a sense of peace and happiness. This was something that he had always felt indebted to Lan Lingji. Right now, Long Shersan only wanted to find his own origin, which made him forget about Lan Lingji. Only now did he realize how many happy moments he had missed. He wasn't a meticulous person. Long Shersan knew that he couldn't give much to Lan Lingji. Even so, he still hoped that she could escape at the last moment. If you don't go, I won't go either. If we live together. If we die together. Do you think that I, Lan Lingji, am a person who is afraid of death? Long Shersan, if you dare to drive me away again, I will die in front of you right now. Lan Lingji's eyes were blazing, staring at Long Shersan coldly. Since her body and mind had already been together, why should she care about life and death? As long as you're here, everything will be fine. If you're not here, what's the point of me living? Lan Lingji's insistence made Long Shersan at a loss. He could only smile bitterly and look at the horizon. A cloud of red mist was approaching. They're here. Long Shersan spoke in a deep voice. His hand was holding the unparalleled divine staff. His eyes were glaring like torches, making him look like a god of slaughter. Although the blood on his body had dried up, his battle intent was still as strong as ever. The red cloud spread out. Experts covered in red scales slowly descended from the void, directly targeting the location of Long Shersan and Lan Lingji. Over 20 red shadows flashed past. Long Shersan's mind was solemn. He knew that this life-and-death battle was far from over. The fiery red figure was covered in scales. It was tall and slender, more than 9 feet tall. It had a slender figure, and its shape was different from a human's, but it was almost identical. It had fiery red cheeks, fiery red hair, and a pair of eyes that seemed to be spewing flames. In an instant, over 20 figures had surrounded Long Shersan and Lan Lingji. Chapter 3640. Want to leave? I'm afraid it won't be that easy. How can there be such a good thing in this world? That's right. If you want to leave, you'll have to leave the white dew pine kernel and this delicate little beauty behind. Kakaka. Now that you've come to this caltrip mountain, it won't be that easy to get out of here. A group of divine emperor experts of the fire spirit race sneered. Long Shersan's strength was very strong. They didn't dare to take him lightly. Although he was only an intermediate divine emperor, he had forced the entire fire spirit race to send out more than 20 divine emperor experts to defeat him. However, he still managed to escape for tens of thousands of miles. Fire spirit race. There was a very mysterious race in the Caltrip mountain. Before this, Long Shersan had never heard of it. However, when he entered the Caltrip mountain, he accidentally found a white dew pine kernel on a 10,000-year-old cedar. He was overjoyed. He thought that he could devour it to improve his cultivation base, but he didn't expect to be hunted down by countless experts of the fire spirit race. Because Long Shersan had killed one of their clansmen, all the experts of the fire spirit race had come out in full force just to kill him. Even Lan Lingji had to suffer together with him. This made Long Shersan extremely regretful. Perhaps he shouldn't have brought her here. However, Long Shersan found a trace of the legend about the Caltrip mountain in his memory fragments. Could it be that his father and his origin were really here? Long Shersan didn't know that he had been hunted down by the experts of the fire spirit race before he could find his father. 3 late divine emperors, 10 intermediate divine emperors, and a dozen early divine emperors. This force was an existence that couldn't be ignored even in the central region divine land. The Caltrip mountain was known as one of the top 10 death traps. It was a place rarely visited by humans. Not even Long Shersan had thought that he would encounter a great calamity here. These experts were all ruthless people who never left their seclusion. The flame energy of the fire spirit race had made him suffer unspeakably. However, at this moment, Long Shersan had no other choice. He had to fight his way out for Lan Lingji, even if he had to risk his life. A bunch of barbarians. Today, I, Long Shersan, will start a massacre. Let's see who can stop me. Shersan roared furiously. His voice reverberated through the sky. Everyone's expression turned solemn, fearing that Shersan would launch a counterattack to defeat them. After all, this guy was too good at fighting. They had to use all of their forces to trap him. Attack. Kill this guy first. Then, we'll enjoy the beauties together. Haha. The leading elder of the fire spirit race shouted in a deep voice. The corner of his mouth revealed a sinister smile, which infuriated Long Shersan even more. How dare these bastards have designs on his women? What a bunch of evil bastards. More than 20 divine emperor experts swarmed forward, not giving Long Shersan any chance. They wanted to defeat them in one go. Long Shersan was neither fast nor slow. He held the unparalleled divine staff in his hand and casted out the battle saint technique unceasingly. Shadows of the staff filled the void. Long Shersan wielded his saber horizontally like a hook, fighting against more than 20 divine emperor experts. He was determined to suppress them at the cost of his life. Run! Long Shersan bellowed. With a palm strike, he pushed Lan Lingji 1,000 meters away. I'm not leaving. Lan Lingji was incomparably resolute. She flew back to Long Shersan's side. I want to fight side by side with you. Even if I have to die, I want to die in my husband's arms. Lan Lingji's beautiful eyes flickered. She gritted her teeth. She had already prepared herself to die with Long Shersan at any time. Long Shersan was infuriated, but there was nothing he could do. He could only exert his greatest strength to kill all these vile creatures of the fire spirit race. However, did he really have the ability to do so? Even Long Shersan himself wasn't sure. The current him was already struggling at death's door. He only had 30 to 40% of his strength left. His current situation was very worrisome. However, even if he had to risk his life, Long Shersan wouldn't hesitate. Lan Lingji had already appeared beside him, fighting side by side with him. Dragon Shersan had nothing more to say. Let's fight for the sake of the woman he loved and the unattainable dream in his heart. Son of Abtch. I'm going to kill you all. Battle Symbol Art. Long Shersan unceasingly executed the battle saint technique. His battle intent was like a rainbow, sweeping across the cosmos. Peerless cudgel shadows soared into the sky. Each scene was like a heavy cudgel striking down from the sky. A dozen early divine emperor experts couldn't resist Long Shersan's sharpness at all. They could only retreat while the enemy advanced, luring the 3 strongest late Divine Emperor elders of the fire spirit race to suppress him. Long Xueqi's eyes were scarlet red. His hair was standing on end. The invincible cudgel shadows struck out 3 times, clashing with the experts of the fire spirit race until the end. 3 early Divine Emperor experts were sent flying away with a single strike of the cudgel. Set up the formation. The elder of the fire spirit race bellowed. Seeing that Long Xueqi had regained his power, he couldn't allow any more innocent people to die. The experts of the fire spirit race instantly understood and started to set up the formation. Fire spirits flickered out one after another. Each of them had a fire spirit that looked like a baby in their hand. The fire spirits were condensed from their cultivation and were their natal divine weapons. The reason why the fire spirit race was so strong that even Long Xueqi couldn't catch up to them was because of this formation. If it was a one-on-one battle, Long Xueqi wouldn't be afraid even if he had to face these experts. Unfortunately, the formation of the fire spirit race was too strange, giving him a headache. Those fire spirits would greatly increase their strength. In the formation of the fire spirit race, Long Xueqi would be completely suppressed. The fire spirits soared into the sky. Long Xueqi was forced to retreat after every strike. Plus, he was already an arrow at the end of its flight, so he couldn't compete with them at all. Fiery golden eyes. Long Xueqi's eyes were blazing like fire, sweeping across the universe. The karmic fire of the Red Lotus kept burning. Those fire spirits didn't dare to be careless. After all, the flames emitted by Long Xueqi's fiery golden eyes were the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, which was extraordinary. Even if they had fire spirits in their hands, they wouldn't dare to attack recklessly. Long Xueqi was fearless. Even at the moment of life and death, the first thing that came to his mind wasn't himself, but Lan Lingji's life. Dragon Xueqi had made up his mind to obliterate everyone here even if he had to burn his soul. Only in this way, perhaps Lan Lingji could survive. A bloodthirsty smile appeared at the corner of Long Xueqi's mouth. Chapter 36-41. Although the fire spirit formation was terrifying, Long Xueqi wasn't afraid of it at all. He had no way out, so he could only fight with his life on the line. Burn, my immortal battle soul. Long Xueqi was overdrawing his body, his soul, and even his will, because he could not allow his beloved woman to suffer even the slightest injury. At this moment, Long Xueqi's battle intent was burning crazily. He had decided to save Lan Lingji at the cost of his own life. This was the only thing he could do for her as a man. Long Xueqi held the unparalleled divine staff in his hand. Even in the face of the fire spirit formation, he didn't retreat. In his dictionary, there was no such thing as retreat or retreat. Long Xueqi's battle intent soared to the sky. His domineering aura was unparalleled. When his eyes swept across, flames shot up to the sky. No one could look him in the eyes. His terrifying eyes were like the fire that could destroy the world, which made the experts of the fire spirit tribe shudder. Hurry up and join forces to kill him. Any delay might cause unforeseen events. The elder of the fire spirit tribe narrowed his eyes. Long Xueqi's battle strength was getting more and more terrifying. At this moment, even he couldn't fathom Long Xueqi's strength. Where did this guy come from? How could he be so terrifying? Countless people from the fire spirit clan had fallen in his hands. Otherwise, they wouldn't have chased after him so relentlessly. Even dozens of hierarch experts had fallen in his hands. The people of the fire spirit tribe hated Long Xueqi to the core. How could they give him a chance to resist at this moment? The battle was getting more and more terrifying. Long Xueqi was like a hot knife cutting through butter. He burned his battle soul in order to emit the last ray of brilliance to save Lan Lingji from the fire and water. All of you must die. Long Xueqi's eyes were filled with disdain as killing intent surged like a rainbow. The terrifying staff swept across the world, slicing mountains and breaking rivers. The terrifying might even cause the fire spiritual array to turn fake under his powerful attacks. The 20-odd figures all had fear on their faces as they felt incomparably sad. They never imagined that Long Xueqi would still be able to display such terrifying strength at the brink of death. Don't tell me this is the final radiance of a setting sun. This is too damn scary. Elder, what should we do? What are you afraid of? There are so many of us. Do you think we'll be afraid of a guy who's struggling at death's door? Some of the fire spirit race's members had started to waver. However, They wouldn't back down in the face of Long Shersan's slaughter of the fire spirit race. In the end, the people of the fire spirit race united as a rope. More than 20 Divine Emperor realm experts began to launch their final counterattack. Long Shersan sneered coldly. His divine might was matchless. He smashed his staff down with a terrifying force. The tremendous force turned into a Kuan Pang, which was unparalleled in the world. Long Shersan's battle intent soared to the sky. He did not retreat at all. His last battle intent, his last source of life, his soul and vitality were constantly weakening, but his momentum was still unstoppable. Battle symbol art. 1, 2, 3, 4. One after another, the Divine Emperor realm experts fell into a pool of blood at the feet of Long Shersan. His battle intent was incomparably domineering. Long Shersan had overcome many obstacles. No one could withstand his earth-shattering strike. Even the 3 late Divine Emperor realm experts turned pale. They wanted to run away, but it was already too late. Long Shersan's momentum was like a rainbow. He killed more than 20 people in one go. All the people of the fire spirit race were killed by him. Blood flowed down the river. The light in Long Shersan's eyes became dimmer. In the end, he knelt down on one knee. He was on the verge of collapsing. He spurted out a mouthful of blood that dyed the void red. He held the peerless staff in his hand. Even if he was going to die, he must not fall. Brother Shersan. Lan Lingji held Long Shersan's big hand tightly. She could feel that Long Shersan's life was fading away constantly. His chi had also been exhausted. Even at the last moment, Long Shersan did not die. However, he knew better than anyone that he didn't have much time left. His soul only existed in the void, gathering and dispersing at times. His vitality was almost gone. He might not even be able to hold on for another 10 days. Lan Lingji's tears gushed out like a spring. At this moment, she was sobbing uncontrollably. How could she not know that Long Shersan was so weak? Long Shersan had burned his own life force to fight for her. All of this was for her. Don't worry. I won't die for the time being. A bright smile appeared on Shersan's face even though he was in low spirits and his aura was weak. In fact, he was on the verge of death. I've really underestimated you. How dare you kill all the people of my fire spirit clan? A man with a voice as loud as a bell stood not far away from Long Shersan. His blood-red eyes were filled with endless wrath and killing intent. Witnessing all his clansmen kneeling in the hands of Long Shersan and the strength of his clan being crushed, such wrath wasn't something that anyone could bear. Long Shersan's face changed abruptly. He raised his head abruptly and stared at the man of the fire spirit clan. His heart was filled with incomparable emotions. Did he fail to protect Lan Lingji in the end? Brat, you shouldn't have come to the Caltrip mountain and killed my clansmen. Go to hell. The patriarch of the fire spirit clan bellowed. Fiery light soared into the sky from the palm of his hand. Huge seals emerged one after another, aiming to obliterate Long Shersan and enshroud both of them. But at the next moment, Long Shersan felt himself being pulled out of the shattered space by a tremendous force. With a wave of his hand, Long Shersan and Lan Lingji were rescued by a man shrouded in black robes. How dare you snatch people from my hands? I'm afraid you don't know whose territory this Caltrip mountain belongs to. Hua-Ao stood still, staring at the black-robed man. Lang Lang said. The killing intent in her eyes intensified. What are you waiting for? The black-robed man spoke in a deep voice. Long Shersan was slightly startled, then nodded heavily and said in a low voice, Thank you, benefactor. Long Shersan pulled Lan Lingji up and left. At this moment, there was no need for him to be courteous anymore. However, how could Hua-Ao let him go so easily? Hua-Ao's attack was blocked by the black-robed man. The battle between the two broke out at this moment. Courting death. Hua-Ao bellowed and rushed towards the black-robed man. Trying to rescue people from his hands? Dream on. Long Shersan remained silent for a moment. If he continued to stay here, he might even become a burden to the patriarch of the Fire Spirit clan. The strength of this black-robed man was extraordinary. Long Shersan hoped that he could withstand the attack of the patriarch of the Fire Spirit clan. No matter who he was, Long Shersan was grateful to him. Although he didn't have much time left, he still wanted to spend the last moments of his life with his beloved. Chapter 3642. After Long Shersan left, his facial expression turned grim because he felt that the figure was somewhat familiar and the voice seemed to have been deliberately altered. Who was that mysterious black-clothed man who had appeared out of nowhere and saved him from the crisis? Long Shersan knew that if he left just like that, the black-clothed man would never be reconciled to it. Even if he had to die, he would surely feel regret. Who could it be? Long Shersan knitted his brows tightly. All of a sudden, his facial expression changed drastically. When he looked back, his heart sank completely. It's her. Who? You mean the black-clothed man who saved us? Lan Lingji looked at Long Shersan in astonishment. No, I have to go back. Long Shersan said firmly. Lan Lingji knitted her brows. She didn't expect that Long Shersan would return. It wasn't easy for them to escape from the clutches of the Fire Spirit clan. If they returned now, wouldn't it be the same as seeking death? Moreover, it would also be a waste of the black-clothed man's effort. Going back now is the same as seeking death. Don't tell me you can bear to see the black-clothed man's efforts go to waste? Brother Shersan, let's go. Forgive me. I'm a selfish man. I don't want to lose you. I really don't. Lan Lingji sobbed uncontrollably. Her face was full of sorrow. She knew very well that the time Brother Shersan had given her was running out. Then, all right. Long Shersan nodded. Lingji, Brother Shersan has thousands of words to say to you, but I'm afraid I won't have the chance. Can you let me hug you? I don't have much time left. Long Shersan and Lan Lingji embraced each other tightly. Stroking her soft hair, Long Shersan's heart was full of struggle, but he didn't want to owe anyone, especially her. In his heart, he felt guilty towards her. If he didn't turn back, she would never forgive him. Sorry. Spirit Maiden. Long Shersan slapped his palm on the nape of Lan Lingji's neck. Instantly, Lan Lingji lost consciousness and fell limply into Long Shersan's arms. In this life, 13th brother has not been able to enjoy the bliss of the countryside with you. If there is a next life, 13th brother will definitely not leave you. Long Shersan said softly. His eyes were filled with tenderness and sweetness, but at the same time, there was a strong reluctance. However, as long as a man was alive, he must stand tall. Even in death, he must not let a woman be his scapegoat. Long Shersan gently kissed Lan Lingji's forehead. At that moment, a drop of tear flowed down from the corner of her eye. Long Shersan smiled faintly and turned away. White Cloud, why did you have to do this? Why do you insist on making me owe you? The one thing I, Long Shersan, don't like to owe others the most is a favor. Little Chenzi, perhaps we won't be able to meet again in this life. In this life, I have no regrets in recognizing you as my brother. Forgive me, your brother. I'm going to leave first. Long Shersan followed suit. Although his strength had fallen to the lowest point, he still turned around and left resolutely. In order to make up for the regret in his heart, in order to live a dignified life and not stand behind a woman. In the void above, the battle between the black-robed man and Huaao was getting more and more intense. The black-robed man was advancing cautiously, but he couldn't move an inch. There was no room for him to fight back. The continuous impact of the fire spirits forced the black-robed man to retreat step by step. He was already showing signs of fatigue and could no longer compete with Huaao. Reckless guy, how dare you block this old man's path? Get lost! Huaao roared angrily. One palm after another, each more terrifying than the previous. The black-robed man was almost instantly crushed. The black-robed man's black robe fell and a white-robed woman retreated. She held her shoulder with one hand and blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Her face was pale but she still didn't give in. That scene made Long Shersan's heart move. That familiar face. The two of them had once gone in opposite directions and said that they wouldn't have anything to do with each other anymore. But in the end, they still met again in the land of caltrops. Long Shersan clenched his fist tightly. His face was gloomy. He flew out and stood behind the white-robed woman. Why did you lie to me? Once wasn't enough. You wanted to do it a second time. Is it really that fun to lie to me? Long Shersan's voice reverberated in by Yun's ears. She bit her red lips. Her eyes were hazy with tears. There was a trace of bitterness at the corner of her mouth. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. It wasn't as heartbreaking as her hot tears. I'm sorry, Bai Yun said in a low voice. She didn't want to lie to him, but he still found out. He still came back and exposed her. Long San couldn't help but shake his head. Hate? What reason did he have to hate her? She lied to him the first time, but she saved him. She lied to him the second time, but she saved him again. Did he love her? Then could his burning heart really be split into two? Did he have to give his love for the spiritual maiden to her? Bai Yun was speechless and helpless. Her eyes were filled with humility. She didn't lie to him on purpose, but she couldn't forgive herself. In his eyes, she had always been a liar. She had always been a selfish and self-pitying person. Long San had to admit that she had never disappeared from his mind. From the moment she lied to him, that woman had been deeply imprinted in his mind. This time, when he was in danger, it was her again. To Long San, this was like an ill-fated relationship. It couldn't be cut off or sorted out. It was a different feeling in his heart. You didn't wrong me. You wronged yourself. You wronged yourself too much. I'm not worth it for you to do this. Long San smiled bitterly. He wasn't an unreasonable person. He didn't like to lie, but they were all white lies. No one could understand the complicated feelings in Long San's heart. He wasn't an indecisive person, but in front of Bai Yun, he couldn't treat her coldly. It wasn't easy to love someone, but it was easy to hurt someone. What qualifications did he have to hurt her? Long San couldn't do it. At least, when his eyes fell on Bai Yun, he knew that this woman who had lied to him twice was already lingering in his mind. Since ancient times, too much love left only hatred. This hatred was endless. If one could really hate someone, it could last for a lifetime. I didn't expect that you would be a pair of ill-fated mandarin ducks. Ha ha ha, then today, both of you will die together with me. Huao said with a gloomy face. His eyes were like torches, staring at Long San and Bai Yun. Aren't you afraid of death? Long San looked at Bai Yun. If I really die, I will think of it as God's punishment for lying to you. Bai Yun smiled. Her smile was as beautiful as the clouds in the sky. The smile of an angel rippled in his heart. Long San sighed in his heart. Could he really hate her to the point where it hurt his heart? Obviously not. The affection between them couldn't be resolved with just one word of hate. You win. Then lie to me one more time so that we can have a happy ending. Long San said faintly. I don't love you. I never loved you from the beginning. I just don't like to see your ice-cold face, as if everyone owes you money. Chapter 36-43. Long San knew that he was going to die, but Bai Yun risked his life to accompany him. Even though the two of them did not get to know each other in the end, it was enough for Bai Yun. At least Long San had acknowledged her. So what's the harm in lying to him again? Bai Yun was like a pear blossom in the rain, but her beauty was indescribable. Their eyes met and Bai Yun's tears turned into a smile. All of this was enough for her. It's really touching. But you've killed so many people of my fire spirit clan. Today, I'll settle this debt with you. Huao's eyes were cold. His murderous intent had completely shrouded Long San and Bai Yun. Little Chenzi, we'll meet again in our next life. Long San, have you, Ling Ji and Bai Yun. My life is not in vain. Ha! Long San laughed. His eyes met Huao's. He knew that he was going to die, but he was not afraid at all. If I can live well in this life, why should I meet again in my next life? Ha! A hearty laughter reverberated in Long San's ears. Long San frowned. Little Chenzi, you're finally here. Bai Yun was also pleasantly surprised as she looked up at the void. Trash. We haven't seen each other for so many years. Damn monkey, you're still trash. Ha! The familiar laughter and scolding caused San's expression to change again. You damn dog. You're not dead yet. Ha! Long San's eyes turned red. At that moment, he looked at the silhouettes in the void. His blood was boiling. Jiang Chen, De Huang, Han Yan and the three divine emperor realm experts behind Jiang Chen. At this moment, Long San's heart was filled with anger. When he looked at Huao again, his eyes were filled with battle intent. Long time no see. Jiang Chen glanced at White Cloud. Without White Cloud, perhaps he would never see Long San again. Long time no see. Big brother Jiang Chen. White Cloud smiled, glanced at Long San, and couldn't help but lower its head. If you're still so stubborn, even I can't stand it anymore, Jiang Chen said with a smile. He tightly hugged Long Shan and felt his brother's incomparably strong arms. He knew that today, Jiang Chen would definitely make Hua Ao pay the price. When Long Shan left with White Cloud, even Jiang Chen sighed in his heart when he found out. However, no one knew Long Shan's character better than him. Why is your body so weak? Jiang Chen frowned and his face was gloomy. Long Shan's body was devoid of vitality. His soul was gathering and dispersing, as if it could be burned to ashes at any time. In other words, Long Shan might not have much time left. You've actually overdrafted your body and soul. Jiang Chen took a deep breath and turned to look at Hua Ao with thick killing intent. A bunch of reckless fellas. A bunch of mid-divine emperors want to fight against my fire spirit race? Since you guys want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Hua Ao said with a proud face. Forget it. Master Dog is happy today. Damn monkey. I'll let you see how powerful Master Dog is. You don't need to deal with this kind of trash. Leave it to me, little Chenzi. De Huang wagged his tail and swaggered out from Jiang Chen's side. A dog? Ha! You guys are too full of yourselves. You dare to provoke my fire spirit race. You'll die a horrible death. Can you do it? Long Shan looked at De Huang suspiciously. TSK. I'm just a little stronger than you. Big Yellow said with its head held high. Bragging isn't just for show. I hope little Chen doesn't have to make a move when the time comes. He's like a wax spear with a silver appearance. Ha! Long Shan laughed. Watch carefully. Watch how Master Dog deals with this little bastard. Big Yellow's body shook, and with a furious roar, he descended from the sky with a golden spear in his hand, and with a sweep of the spear, he pierced the sky. This Caltrip mountain is one of the 10 Deathlands. Today, all of you shall die here. Hua Ao roared in anger. He did not retreat, instead, he charged forward. There was not a single late divine emperor among these guys. Moreover, it was a dog. If he could not even defeat this damn dog, then his fire spirit clan would not be able to survive. As one of the 4 great clans of Caltrip Mountain, Hua Ao was confident in dealing with these reckless guys. Big Yellow's expression turned cold as he unleashed his full might. His golden spear was like a dragon, and a tyrannical aura erupted from his body, instantly suppressing Hua Ao. One could easily tell the difference between an expert and an expert the moment they made their move. Facing Big Yellow's crazy bombardment, Hua Ao's complexion became extremely ugly. However, by the time Hua Ao felt that something was amiss, it was already too late. Big Yellow's attack was as fast as lightning. He did not give Hua Ao the slightest chance. With a spurt of energy, Big Yellow instantly knocked Hua Ao into the void. Even Dragon Shan was shocked by Lin Fan's strength. He was impressed by Lin Fan's strength. It seemed like he had to work harder. Big Yellow was able to fight against 5 late-stage divine emperors without falling into a disadvantageous position. This guy shouldn't be his match, Jiang Chen said with a smile. Sure enough, not long after, Big Yellow had already soared into the sky with a silver spear in his hand. He picked up the dying Hua Ao and returned to Dragon Shan's side with a triumphant expression. Did you see that, damned monkey? Learn from him. This guy isn't a match for me at all. De Huang's unparalleled attack shocked Long Shan. If I'm at my peak, you won't be my match. Ba ba ba. Come, let's fight for 300 rounds. Big Yellow said unhappily. Both of them were not convinced by each other. Alright, you two stop fighting. How should we deal with this guy? Jiang Chen looked at Long Shan. Just kill him. Before Long Shan could finish his words, De Huang bit off Hua Ao's head. Hua Ao did not even have the chance to scream. Crunchy. Delicious. De Huang said calmly. For a moment, even Ling Yun and the others were shocked. De Huang is too terrifying. Hua Ao, a late empty god realm expert, was eaten by him. Miss Bai Yun, thank you. If it wasn't for you, I don't know what kind of scene it would be when we meet. Jiang Chen looked at Bai Yun and nodded slightly to express his gratitude. Brother Jiang Chen, don't make fun of me. It's good enough that I didn't help. Bai Yun smiled bitterly. Not only did she fail to save Long Shan, but Long Shan saw through her and came back. That was equivalent to harming him. If it wasn't for Bai Yun, I might really be dead. Long Shersan looked at Bai Yun and his eyes became complicated. They thought that they would definitely die. However, they did not expect that Jiang Chen and De Huang would appear out of nowhere and save Long Shersan's life. TSK TSK TSK. You're showing off your love now. It's not good to do it in front of so many people. If Ling Ji was here, let's see if you still have the guts. De Huang snorted. White Cloud blushed with a hint of shyness on her face. Oh yes, Ling Ji is still there. Chapter 36-44. The moment Lan Lingji woke up and saw Long Shersan, Jiang Chen and the others, she thought that she was dreaming and sobbed uncontrollably. Bai Yun looked at the scene silently. She even felt a little embarrassed, feeling that she was a little redundant. However, the love in her heart couldn't be shaken. For the sake of Long Shersan, she wouldn't rush forward fearlessly and even deceive Long Shersan, making him think that she was someone else. She would rather be crushed into dust than be discovered by Long Shersan. Although both of them had forgiven each other, White Cloud was still like a child who had done something wrong. He felt guilty towards Lan Lingji. After all, she was the real woman of Dragon Shersan. Am I dreaming? Lan Lingji murmured. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. No, how can this be a dream? Don't let your imagination run wild. Jiang Chen has saved me. De Huang and Han Yen have also come. Ha ha ha. Long Shersan's excitement wasn't any less than Lan Lingji's. Even until now, he was still in a daze. At the critical moment of his life, it was his brothers who had saved him. Big brother Jiang Chen, thank you. Lan Lingji was still in a daze, but she was very cautious when facing Bai Yun. Women's senses were always the most sensitive. Lan Lingji immediately sensed that Bai Yun had a different feeling towards Long Shersan compared to the others. She's that black-robed man. Bai Yun. Long Shersan looked at Bai Yun and said. Lan Lingji smiled at Bai Yun. Although she didn't say anything, one could clearly feel her deep affection for Long Shersan. Otherwise, why would she risk her life to save Long Shersan? Why would Long Shersan go back to find her at all costs? In the relationship, women were always the most sensitive and intellectual. Instead of stealing Lan Lingji's limelight, White Cloud responded with an elegant smile. Right now, your body is no longer as good as before. Your life force is completely exhausted and your soul has collapsed. This is truly a headache. Jiang Chen frowned. However, to him, as long as he could stabilize Long Shersan's soul, he wouldn't die. To others, it might be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, with the great Yu soul-forming light, Jiang Chen was confident that he could help Long Shersan recover from his soul injury. Do you think I can recover? Long Shersan shuddered. Lan Lingji and Bai Yun also stared at Jiang Chen in disbelief. Who asked you to be my brother? Jiang Chen's smile made the three of them heave a sigh of relief. However, Jiang Chen's expression immediately turned solemn as he continued. However, the life force in your body needs to be nourished by Yin. If you use other people's lives as nourishment, it is very likely that your life will be in danger. I can help you recover your soul force, but I can't do anything about the life force. Let me do it. Before Jiang Chen's voice faded, Bai Yun and Lan Lingji spoke almost at the same time. Bai Yun blushed and glanced at Lan Lingji awkwardly. Lan Lingji also looked at Bai Yun silently. Let us do it together. Lan Lingji smiled faintly and looked at Bai Yun. She could feel Bai Yun's affection for Brother Shersan. Bai Yun risked her life to save Brother Shersan but didn't want to tell her. Now, she even used her life force to exchange for Brother Shersan's life. If she could transfer her life force to Brother Shersan, Lan Lingji wouldn't have any reason to reject her. If one loved someone, one should accept his everything. She didn't want Brother Shersan to be trapped in a dilemma and become an ungrateful man. No. Long Shersan frowned and spoke in a deep voice. Jiang Chen's method would surely cause great harm to the two of them. Long Shersan wouldn't put them in danger just for his own safety. If the two of them act together, the problem shouldn't be too big. My great Yu soul-forming light can only help you reconstruct your soul and stabilize your condition. The only ones who can help you recover your life force are the two of them. The convergence of Yin and Yang, the gathering of primordial Yang, together with the upper origin heavy water, should be able to restore your body to its peak or even stronger than before. Jiang Chen said. Brother Shersan, Big Brother Jiang Chen said that this isn't dangerous for us, but your life is hanging by a thread. Lan Lingji smiled. In order to help Long Shan recover his primordial yang qi, she had no regrets. Lan Lingji and White Cloud exchanged a glance. None of them hesitated. In their eyes, Shan's life was far more important than their own. Long Shan had no choice but to nod helplessly. That's right. A man shouldn't be so wishy-washy. Otherwise, given your body, Master Dog can torture you 1,000 times and you won't be able to do anything about it. Ha! De Huang curled his lips and said. When my strength is restored, if I don't peel off a layer of your skin, my name isn't Long Shan. Long Shan and De Huang stared at each other, full of fighting intent. Kaka, Master Dog will accompany you to the end. De Huang spoke with a proud face. All right, I'll help you reconstruct your divine soul first. Long Shan, concentrate and enter my divine lamp. Jiang Chen yelled with a solemn face. Even an Emperor Realm expert might not be able to help Long Shan recover his divine soul, but the scariness of the Great Yu soul-forming light wasn't something an ordinary Emperor Realm expert could compare with. Jiang Chen activated the Great Yu soul-forming light and began to condense the divine soul for Long Shan. Waves of terrifying soul energy burst out from the Great Yu soul-forming light, enveloping Long Shan's surroundings. After 3 days and 3 nights, Long Shan's soul energy gradually recovered to about 80%. Jiang Chen's face was ghastly pale. Activating the Great Yu soul-forming light to help Long Shan recover his divine soul had consumed a lot of his physical strength. He was gasping for breath with a pale face. I'll leave the rest to the two of you. Jiang Chen looked at Lan Lingji and Bai Yun, who were blushing and lowering their heads shyly. Ha ha ha. Damned monkey. Every moment of the night is worth 1,000 gold. Hurry up. De Huang said with a laugh. Long Shan blushed and glared at De Huang. Then the 3 of them entered the cave. Watching the sun gradually setting on the horizon, Big Yellow said in a low voice beside Jiang Chen. There's something I haven't told you, little Chunzi. What is it? This time, God Luo clan has opened their doors and sent out numerous experts to search for the lost God Luo scripture. Moreover, Goddess Luo told me that God Luo clan might find you soon. Because they know that the craftsman god once had a copy of God Luo scripture. De Huang's expression was incomparably solemn. I do indeed have a piece of the God Luo's diagram, but it is not the one in the hands of the craftsman god, but the one I copied from the Luo River god turtle. As for the piece in the hands of the craftsman god, it should be in the hands of that bastard Shangguan Hongyan. It's a pity that he still slipped away when he was in the mountain and sea sect. Chapter 3645. You actually have the God Luo scripture? De Huang said in astonishment. But it was within his expectations. Although the God Luo scripture in Jiang Chen's hands wasn't left behind by the craftsman god, there was still a piece of the God Luo scripture. The Luo god clan is one of the primordial clans, and they're the most terrifying. The strength that they've preserved in the primordial era should be the most complete. The reason why they want to find the 8 pieces of the God Luo scripture is so that they can regain their former glory. Anyone who possesses the God Luo scripture will become the target of the Luo god clan. That's because they can sense where the 8 pieces of the God Luo scripture are. The strength of the Luo god clan is far more terrifying than you can imagine. They're probably even stronger than the Mountain Sea sect. It's just that they've been living in seclusion above the Luo River and didn't compete with the secular world. But this time, I don't know why they're so anxious, as if they can't wait any longer. The Luo god clan seems to have turned out in full force to search for the 8 pieces of the God Luo scripture. De Huang's words made Jiang Chen nod his head. He didn't dare to let his guard down. De Huang had been in the Luo god clan for so many years, and he only left the Luo god clan at this moment. That also meant that there must be many people stronger than him in the Luo god clan. De Huang was invincible right now, and even the sect master of the Mountain Sea sect might not be his opponent. But even he didn't dare to reveal it, which meant that the Luo god clan was terrifying. Back then, Jiang Chen had suffered a great loss when he failed to snatch the God Luo scripture from Shangguan Hongyan. He should have killed Shangguan Hongyan, but he couldn't take revenge for his master. You won't be so lucky next time. Jiang Chen's eyes flashed with a cold light. If he were to face Shangguan Hongyan again, he definitely wouldn't be his opponent. Right now, the only ones that could deal with them in the Central Region Divine Land were the Martial Pellet Hall and the Slaughter Pagoda. But hearing De Huang's words, Jiang Chen's expression turned grave. There was no doubt about the Luo god clan's strength, but what about the other primordial clans? It probably wouldn't be that bad, right? Although the so-called sects on the central region Divine Land weren't weak, they were still far from being comparable to some of the secluded large clans. Therefore, Jiang Chen could not let his guard down. The Caltrip Mountain, which was known as one of the places of death, was a terrifying place. The expert who claimed to be the patriarch of the Fire Spirit clan had reached the late Divine Emperor realm. The Caltrip Mountain was definitely not just a place belonging to the Fire Spirit clan. This place was isolated from the rest of the world and few people knew about it. It was almost impossible for those who were weak or below the Divine Emperor realm to get out. That was why it was called the Land of Death. Looks like this God Luo scripture is truly a precious item that even the Luo god clan treasures it. It's truly not simple to be known as one of the 3 great ancient books. However, it shouldn't be easy for the Luo god clan to find me. I'll just deal with it when it comes. He's not the only enemy I have now. I'm afraid that everyone in the central region knows that I, Jiang Chen, possess the inheritance of the craftsman god. Anyone who has the intention will probably come and interfere. Jiang Chen shrugged his shoulders as if he didn't care. There's a very powerful woman in the Luo god clan. She's Goddess Luo's elder sister. I can't underestimate her. I'm not her opponent. De Huang sighed as if he was lamenting his own inferiority. There weren't many people who could make him bow down to them. When they entered the divine tomb, they probably didn't just want the inheritance of the craftsman god. They probably wanted the god Luo's scripture more. Jiang Chen said, "That's most likely the case. I hope that Goddess Luo's elder sister won't come looking for me so soon." De Huang also had a lingering fear. He didn't seem to want to meet Goddess Luo's elder sister. What about Goddess Luo? Why didn't she come out with you? She's under house arrest. If I want to be with Goddess Luo, I can only bring a piece of the god Luo's scripture back to the Luo god clan. Sigh. De Huang's expression turned gloomy. He was speechless. Use my god Luo's scripture. I know what you mean, little Chenzi. This matter has nothing to do with you. I'll use my own methods to get my woman back. De Huang's eyes were extremely sharp. He didn't wait for Jiang Chen to finish his words and waved his hand. Jiang Chen knew that with De Huang's character, he would definitely not be courteous with him. Unless he really wanted him to kill his way back to the Luo god clan and get his beloved woman back. 3 days later, Long Shersan finally walked out from the cave. His aura was fluctuating and his face was glowing. His eyes were shining like stars. Damn monkey, you didn't disappoint Master Dog. Ha! De Huang laughed. Shersan glared at Big Yellow with his sharp eyes and sharp eyebrows. He looked at Big Yellow with a soaring battle intent. Come fight with me. Long Shersan held the peerless divine staff tightly and pointed it at De Huang with a bright smile. Master Dog isn't afraid of you. Humph. The 2 of them quickly flew up to the sky. The spear light and the staff shadow overlapped, shaking the mountain. Their aura soared to the heavens and the light in the sky dimmed. Jiang Chen felt an itch in his heart as he watched the 2 of them engage in a battle of life and death. He flew up to the peak of the void and joined in the battle. Count me in too. Ha! Jiang Chen stood up with his sword. The limitless sword became more and more terrifying. His sword intent continued to rise. The 21st sword had reached the great accomplishment level. At this moment, even an ordinary late divine emperor might not be able to withstand the limitless sword in Jiang Chen's hand. I'm coming. Han Yan's eyes flashed. He also joined the 3 of them. The battle of the 4 heavenly kings began a fierce confrontation. In the end, the 3 of them attacked Jiang Chen. Even Jiang Chen felt the pressure when facing 3 enemies at the same time. However, the 21st sword had completely transcended the sword intent. He could do whatever he wanted and was unstoppable. Jiang Chen could still walk leisurely in the face of the 3 enemies' siege. Little Chenzi, eat my staff. Long Shersan roared. His eyes were filled with fire. The Battle Saint technique fought against Jiang Chen. However, Jiang Chen's 21st sword was too terrifying after reaching the great accomplishment level. Whether it was the Battle Saint technique, the giant demon devouring sky, or even De Huang's spear light of troubled times, none of them could shake Jiang Chen. Did you 3 not eat? Ha! Jiang Chen laughed. Suddenly, the 3 of them attacked with all their might. However, in the face of the limitless sword in Jiang Chen's hand, the 3 of them were in a dilemma. They could not break through the defense, nor could they attack. During the battle, Jiang Chen's strength had reached the mid-divine emperor realm. He was only one step away from the late divine emperor realm. Moreover, the power of his Dao accumulation had also improved a lot during the Battle of the Mountain and Sea sect. He could even use the third seal of the expandable heaven seals. After the battle, Jiang Chen's strength was on par with the three of them. Just now, they were still talking cheerfully and full of fighting spirit. However, at this moment, Long Shersan's mind was filled with scenes that gave him a splitting headache. Long Shersan's eyes were ferocious. He was in so much pain that he wanted to die. Chapter 36-46. After a long time, Shersan finally recovered. His face was extremely ugly and the sorrow in the depths of his eyes could be seen in his words. What's going on? Jiang Chen looked at Long Shersan solemnly. My father is here, it's just that I don't know where he is. The Million-Li Caltrip Mountain is simply too big, and this place seems to be an ancient battlefield. It's just that after millions and millions of years, there shouldn't be any traces left behind. Long Shersan said disappointedly. You're saying that the Caltrip Mountain is an ancient battlefield? De Huang asked in surprise. Long Shersan nodded. However, the memory fragments in his mind were incomplete and had been obtained in the divine tomb. Is my father really an incomparably powerful god? Draconic Shersan kept asking himself, but those scattered memories couldn't provide him with much information. The only thing that allowed him to obtain the inheritance was the peerless staff in his hand. Jiang Chen's expression was solemn as he closed his eyes and used the great divination art. His divine soul left his body and spread throughout the entire Caltrip Mountain. Suddenly, Jiang Chen frowned. Yu Er's beautiful eyes flickered as she looked at Jiang Chen. The two of them looked at each other and said in unison, 90,000 miles northwest of the Caltrip Mountain. Their words made Long Shersan, De Huang, and the others frown. They didn't know what they were talking about. I don't know. I only feel that there's an abnormally terrifying spiritual energy magnetic field there. It seems to be the most terrifying place within a radius of 100,000 miles. Yu said in a low voice. That place should be an ancient battlefield. I also feel an extremely terrifying danger. It's not without reason that the Caltrip Mountain is known as one of the top 10 death traps. Jiang Chen was also very solemn. No matter what, let's go take a look first. Long Shersan's gaze was resolute. He knew that his father and the memory fragments were definitely in the Caltrip Mountain. However, he didn't know where. Jiang Chen and Yu were both pointing to the northwest. To Long Shersan, this was definitely an unknown challenge. Once the group was ready, they headed straight for the place Jiang Chen and Yu had told them about 45,000 miles northwest of Mount Caltrip. The Caltrip Mountain was a vast expanse of mountains with towering peaks. From time to time, it would be a world of ice and snow, and from time to time, there would be the singing of birds and the fragrance of flowers. Thousands of li away, the other side of the mountain was verdant and lush, while the other side of the mountain was rainy. When Jiang Chen and the others arrived at the northwest region of Mount Caltrip, they didn't find any ancient ruins of a battlefield. In front of them was a vast mountain range, deep valleys, murmuring water, wild beasts, and lush greenery. It was like a paradise, but there were no ancient ruins like what they were looking for. How can this be? Yu was also confused. She looked at the scene in shock. There wasn't a single ancient battlefield in front of her. However, she was sure that she had used the great divination art to find this place. It was the same for Jiang Chen. Could it be that you're mistaken? Little Chunzi. De Huang said in a low voice while wagging his tail. No, if I was mistaken, it would be pardonable. However, Yu and I confirmed at almost the same time that this was the place where they felt the densest spiritual energy. But now, the spiritual energy here seems to have dissipated. It was just 3 days ago. Jiang Chen said with absolute certainty. His brows were tightly furrowed. He also didn't know why such a scene would appear. Long Shersan was a little disappointed. However, he couldn't blame anyone because he didn't know what would happen to this world. Even the ancient battlefield from hundreds of millions of years ago didn't exist anymore, right? Perhaps they were wrong from the start. There shouldn't be some kind of formation covering this place, right? Ling Yun said doubtfully. Her words reminded Jiang Chen. However, he still couldn't find any signs of a formation. I'll go take a look. Jiang Chen said. His figure was like the wind, passing through dozens of tall mountains in an instant. When Jiang Chen returned after a short while, the expression on his face was quite grave. You've guessed correctly. There is indeed a formation here. However, this formation is too terrifying. Even I am powerless to do anything about it. I can sense that this formation is currently in a cracked state. Countless amounts of spiritual qi seem to have already surged into the formation. However, I am unable to find the entrance at all. Jiang Chen furrowed his brows. Everyone else had a helpless expression on their faces and didn't know what to do. This is a spirit formation from the ancient era. Inside the spirit formation, there's a world of its own. Space and time are no different from the outside. It can be said to be another space that's forcefully opened up within this space. It's a spirit formation that's formed using a supreme technique. Without the strength of a heavenly king or above, it's absolutely impossible to create it. The ancestral Dragon Emperor's voice set off a huge wave in Jiang Chen's heart. This is a barrier created by a heavenly king realm expert? Jiang Chen had never heard of it before. In that case, the space here should be overlapping with this mountain? Jiang Chen asked. It should be so. Moreover, this barrier has already broken. However, it's extremely difficult to find the entrance. It is very possible that there is a terrifying ancient era's battlefield inside. Your guess is correct. However, it is practically impossible to find the edge of this spirit formation space. The ancestral Dragon Emperor's continuous attacks made Jiang Chen smile bitterly. However, he would not admit defeat so easily. According to what the ancestral Dragon Emperor said, his idea should be correct. What he needed to do now was to find the entrance of the barrier. Only then would he be able to find the exit of the ancient battlefield. There seems to be a lot of demonic aura surging out from there. Han Yen pointed at the Line Sky Canyon 1,000 miles away and said in a deep voice. Only he could sense traces of devil qi coming from that direction. Even Jiang Chen couldn't sense it. Let's go and have a look. Jiang Chen gave Han Yen a glance. The two of them took the lead and rushed towards the Line Sky Canyon that was thousands of miles away. Only when they were within a mile of the canyon did Jiang Chen feel that the rising devil qi seemed to be leaking out from this place. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, as if they were extremely shocked. It's all thanks to you, Yen. Otherwise, it would be impossible for us to find the entrance of the barrier. Jiang Chen said with a smile. Everyone's eyes lit up and looked towards the end of the canyon. Let's not waste any more time. What are we waiting for? Long San couldn't wait any longer. The demonic aura here is very strange. I feel that the barrier you mentioned is extremely dangerous. Chapter 36-47. Everyone, be careful. Yen, the two of us will take the lead. Han Yen nodded his head. The two of them pushed the demonic aura away and started to move deeper into the canyon. However, Jiang Chen could clearly feel the terrifying demonic aura. It was like a poison that could devour one's soul. Everyone felt dizzy and couldn't even move a single step. Other than him and Han Yen, everyone felt that the demonic aura seemed to be able to devour their soul, making it extremely difficult for them to move. Han Yen was fine, probably because his resistance to the demonic aura wasn't something ordinary people could compare to. As for himself, Jiang Chen felt that his soul power seemed to be able to push the clouds away. The benefits of an Emperor Realm soul was finally revealed. The pitch-black canyon in front of them was like a clear mirror in Jiang Chen's eyes. At this moment, Jiang Chen enveloped everyone's body under his soul. Everyone felt an unprecedented carefree feeling. This damned place almost made this Lord Dog faint. De Huang said angrily. Fortunately, they had Jiang Chen's Emperor Realm soul to protect them. Yeah, this damned place doesn't seem to be a good place. Long San also said. He felt extremely uncomfortable. However, at this moment, Long San's perception became clearer and clearer. After pushing aside the demonic miasma, they finally arrived at the end of the ravine. Countless amounts of demonic miasma were leaking out in an unending stream, and countless amounts of spiritual energy were pouring into the ravine. The crack that was over 100 feet wide was the entrance to the spirit formation space. Found it, Jiang Chen said with a deep voice. The corner of his mouth curled into a smile. He took a deep breath and pushed the demonic aura away. They passed through the crack and entered the spirit formation space. At that instant, everyone was stunned as they looked at the scene in front of them. The world within the spirit formation space was simply another world. A world that was already in ruins. Countless mountain peaks had collapsed, countless ancient trees had withered, and countless white bones were scattered across the land. Divine armaments were broken, and the ancient city was in ruins. Even the atmosphere was filled with an extremely stifling feeling. The surroundings were filled with mountains and rocks. It was a desolate scene that made people worry. There wasn't a single trace of life in this land. It was like a purgatory of death. There were countless wandering souls and bones. This place was destined to be a bloody battlefield. It's here. Long Xueqi's eyes narrowed as he swept his gaze across. The memory fragments in his mind recorded this desolate land and the ancient city. The demonic aura in the spirit formation space was extremely terrifying. It was 10 times, 100 times more terrifying than the entrance. Long Xueqi's words strengthened Jiang Chen and Yu Er's thoughts. This was the place that they were looking for. The most eye-catching thing in their eyes was the ancient city that stood on the waist of the mountain. Everything within 100 miles of the ancient city was in ruins. However, there was a strange ancient civilization that made Jiang Chen feel an ancient aura. This is the ancient battlefield? Long Er said curiously. Her heart was filled with sorrow. The bones that could be seen everywhere indicated the tragedy and sorrow of this place. It was unknown how many people had died in this ancient land. In the ancient city, there were 3 mountain peaks that were like stone monuments. They stood tall in the center of the ancient city. Their might was unstoppable and undefeatable. Those bones have all stood up? Ling Yun exclaimed. She looked at Jiang Chen and the thousands of bones in the surroundings. All of them were holding onto broken weapons and slowly stood up from the ground. Everyone felt their hearts palpitating. This spirit formation space that was filled with demonic aura was really strange. The ancient city that was in ruins was like an abyss that attracted people to see what was inside. At this moment, the countless bones in the surroundings were holding onto weapons. This was the most terrifying thing. Because Jiang Chen and the others did not know how terrifying these bones were. Were they weak? Or were they living from death? These skeletons are not to be trifled with. They must have been triggered by our anger. Han Yan's voice entered everyone's ears. It was incomparably stern. Rise and spread. More and more bones are holding on to weapons. It seems like these guys are coming to attack us. Jiang Chen said coldly. Indeed, at the beginning there were hundreds of them. In the end, there were thousands and thousands of them. More and more bones were coming towards them. It made Jiang Chen and the others feel like they were facing a great enemy. Get ready to fight. We have no other choice. Long Xueqi held onto his peerless divine staff. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Anyone who dares to stop him from finding his father would become a dead soul under his staff. Kill! Xueqi roared furiously and took the initiative to attack. He swept his cudgel horizontally and crushed more than a dozen white bones into smithereens. Jiang Chen, De Huang and the others also rose up. Fortunately, these bones were not strong. They were only at the hierarch realm or divine king realm. However, their numbers were huge. Tens of thousands of bones covered the sky. Jiang Chen took the lead and charged into the enemy's formation. Countless bones were crushed by the heavenly dragon sword and turned into ashes. Ling Yun, Long Er and the others were not to be outdone. After all, this was not a real army of divine emperors. They could still defend themselves. However, what Jiang Chen didn't expect was that some of these skeletons could reform their bodies and charge towards him again. Although they were just a pile of bones, they could still reform their bodies after being smashed by Jiang Chen. This was the scariest part. This might be an endless army of skeletons. They are from the undead tribe. I know where this is. The ancestral dragon emperor said in a solemn tone. What the hell is the undead tribe? Jiang Chen was infuriated. The army of bones was endless. Although they could charge in and out continuously, they would eventually die of exhaustion if they did not stop. Just like what the ancestral dragon emperor said, they were from the undead tribe. Could it be that they were immortal? The surroundings were densely packed. Within 100 miles, it was an army of white skeletons. Gradually, even Lan Lingji, Yu Er and the others began to show signs of exhaustion. If they were the undying undead nether race, it would be a vicious cycle. They would surely be exhausted to death. They are the strongest combat strength of the demon race in the ancient times. Their bodies are immortal and their bones are indestructible. The undead tribe has an indestructible battle soul and can live forever. Now, you can only use the Great Yu soul-forming light to absorb their indestructible battle souls to destroy them. The ancestral dragon emperor said anxiously. Everyone's face turned ugly. In this battle, the white skeleton army had caused them great suffering. At this moment, Han Yen seemed to have the help of a god. Demonic chi swept across the battlefield. Only the white skeleton army that was destroyed by him did not recover. Chapter 36-48. Ah Yen, this guy is so terrifying. De Huang looked solemn and he was shocked. He did not expect that Han Yen, who was usually quiet, would be able to kill so many enemies and kill so many of them. The demonic chi in his body can kill the enemies and turn them into ashes. It's their nemesis. But in the end, it's still too difficult. If he relies on himself, it seems that this endless army of white bones will never be destroyed. The ancestral dragon emperor said in a low voice. Jiang Chen's eyes turned cold and he held the Great Yu soul-forming light in his hand. In an instant, countless fighting souls wailed and howled as they were sucked into the Great Yu soul-forming light by Jiang Chen. Following that, waves after waves of the enemies were killed and disappeared. The Great Yu soul-forming light was terrifying. Hundreds of thousands of fighting souls were sucked into the Great Yu soul-forming light. However, the consumption of Jiang Chen's divine origin chi was extremely great. Jiang Chen could feel that the divine origin chi in his body was being sucked out continuously. However, the number of fighting souls in the Great Yu soul-forming light was increasing day by day. The surrounding army of the enemies seemed to have some gaps and they were not as many as before. Jiang Chen's Great Yu soul-forming light is the best. Ha! De Huang laughed and said excitedly. At this moment, Jiang Chen was fighting against thousands of enemies alone. He was like a god of war, protecting everyone behind him. However, even so, Jiang Chen's consumption was quite great. The Great Yu soul-forming light had never absorbed so many souls before. Moreover, these souls were quite terrifying and powerful. They were at least at the Divine King realm. After half a day, the entire army of skeletons was sucked into Jiang Chen's Great Yu soul-forming light. Everyone was shocked. The Great Yu soul-forming light was too terrifying. Even Han Yen nodded his head. Although his demonic chi was the nemesis of the army of skeletons, it paled in comparison to Jiang Chen's. After Jiang Chen had killed all the skeletons and their souls were absorbed into the Great Yu soul-forming light, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. However, Jiang Chen was sweating profusely, and he did not even have 10% of his original strength left. It was quite tragic. These damn fellows. They are so hard to deal with. Undead clan, I will send all of you to hell. Jiang Chen said while gritting his teeth. Long Ying-er and Ling Yun stood on the left and right of Jiang Chen, helping him to wipe the sweat off his face. Yu-er silently looked at the scene, feeling a little lonely. Compared to them, she and her big brother still had a different feeling. There's someone? De Huang's ears twitched as he looked at the dilapidated ancient city 10 miles away. He squinted his eyes and said, Are you sure it's a living person? Long Shi-san looked at De Huang in astonishment. It's absolutely true. When have I, Lord Dog, ever made a mistake? Big Yellow uttered proudly and wagged its tail proudly. It was very proud of itself. It seems like we're not the only ones who came in, Jiang Chen said with a smile. Everyone walked towards the dilapidated ancient city. If there were people in the ancient city, they would have already discovered their existence. Therefore, there was no need for Jiang Chen to hide anymore. Their enemies were in the dark and they were in the light. Even if there was a conspiracy, they could only accept it. There's not only the Fire Spirit clan in this Caltrop mountain. Could it be that there are other existences in this boundary space? Long Shi-san furrowed his brows. However, they had the advantage in numbers. They were not afraid of danger and directly walked towards the dilapidated ancient city. Just when Jiang Chen and the others arrived at the entrance of the ancient city, a deafening roar resounded from the ancient city. This isn't a place that you should come to. Leave immediately. Otherwise you'll be killed without mercy. Facing that threatening voice, Long Shi-san, De Huang and the others became even more furious. Fuck your brother. There aren't many people who dare to speak to this Lord Dog like that. I'm definitely going to take a look today. Deliberately mystifying things. It seems like there are some people with ulterior motives. Long Shi-san was not afraid in the slightest. His group did not have any intention of stopping. Who are you? Why are you giving orders here? Do you really think that we're scared? Jiang Chen said with a smile. With their current strength, even if they were to challenge the mountain and sea sect again, Jiang Chen would not be afraid, let alone in this corner of the Caltrip mountain. Although this place was very strange, they would definitely not be frightened by a mere warning. You don't know what's good for you. If you dare to take another step, you'll all die. At that moment, a man covered in brown stone slowly rose from the ancient city. He stood in front of Jiang Chen and the others with his hands clasped behind his back. He was extremely tall, like a stone man. His face was wrinkled, and he was no different from a human. Who are you? Jiang Chen said coldly. You lowly humans, why aren't you getting lost? What are you waiting for? If I met you in the Caltrip mountain, you would have been mercilessly killed by me. The stone-skinned man said coldly. You guys should be similar to the Fire Spirit clan, right? Long San said coldly. You know the Fire Spirit clan? The stone-skinned man looked at Long San in surprise. The Fire Spirit clan's patriarch, Huao, has been killed by us. If you don't want to die, get lost. Otherwise the next one to die will be you. Long San snorted coldly. You guys actually killed Huao of the Fire Spirit clan? The stone-skinned man obviously did not believe it, and his face was filled with shock. These guys were all mid-divine emperor realm. How could they be Huao's opponent? Moreover, the Fire Spirit clan was full of experts. It was impossible for them to be a match for the Fire Spirit clan. You're talking nonsense. Don't try to deceive me. If you take another step forward, you'll die. The stone-skinned man was also a peak mid-divine emperor. This Caltrip mountain was their territory. How could he be afraid of Jiang Chen and the others? You're courting death. Without a second thought, Xueqi flew up to the sky and clashed with the stone-skinned man. The peerless staff struck the stone-skinned man down from the sky in less than 3 moves, making the stone-skinned man feel terrified. Who are you guys? You better tell me who you are first. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your life. Hee. Jiang Chen looked at the stone-skinned man coldly. The stone-skinned man trembled and gritted his teeth. He looked at Long San, but in the end, he still could not resist the peerless stick. I'm from the Earth Spirit clan. You better let me go. Our patriarch and the experts of the other 2 clans are here. The numerous experts of the Bamboo clan and the Flying Ant clan. Please don't make a mistake. I advise you to leave this place as soon as possible. Otherwise, you'll face a bloody calamity. The stone-skinned man said fiercely. Jiang Chen and the others were startled. It seemed like there were experts from the other 3 clans behind this stone-skinned man. They must not be here for sightseeing. What are you guys looking for? Jiang Chen's eyes turned cold as he looked at the stone-skinned man. His killing intent surged, causing the stone-skinned man to swallow his saliva. He felt bitter and did not dare to look at Jiang Chen. Chapter 3649. Can't say? Master Dog, let's see if you can say it. Get out of my way. De Huang shouted angrily and asked everyone to leave. He then raised his butt and slammed it on the stone-skinned man's face. Blurg, at that moment, the stone-skinned man's face was deathly pale, and a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. This group of people didn't play by the rules at all. You could have just beaten me up, but now you're using bullshit to interrogate me? He was simply speechless. I'll say it. The stone-skinned man gritted his teeth and said. De Huang's fart was too terrifying. It had already penetrated into his bones and made him feel that his entire body was filled with a foul stench. He even felt that he would rather die than live. Ling Yun and the rest of the girls blushed. They did not expect the handsome De Huang to have such a crazy side. It was really impressive. De Huang, your fart is so powerful. Haha, this guy feels that he has reached the peak of his life. Long San said with a laugh and gave De Huang a thumbs up. He could not help but praise. Why aren't you saying it? De Huang slapped the stone-skinned man's face. We're looking for a bead. As for what it is, I have no idea. However, every 9,000 years, there would be a crack in the spirit formation in this ancient city. The people from our 4 great clans would definitely come here to search for that unknown bead. However, even after countless years, we were unable to find the exact location of that bead. Legend has it that as long as we can find that bead, we will be able to become an Emperor Realm expert and become invincible. Even if we can't find it, we can still obtain some broken weapons and reforge them into great weapons. Hence, every 9,000 years we will come here. The stone-skinned man said in a low voice as he trembled. He looked at his own body in disgust. It was so smelly that he could not help himself. Bead. What kind of bead could be so powerful? Jiang Chen frowned. They had been searching for it for many years, but they still couldn't find it. The 4 great tribes had been in Jizhen Mountain for many years, so they must know the situation here like the back of their hands. If they still couldn't find it, then this bead must be something precious. That's right. It is said that this bead is something that even the ancient gods couldn't let go of. The stone-skinned man nodded heavily and said everything he knew. He was afraid that the damn dog would fart again and stink him to death. This time, Jiang Chen and the others were shocked once again. How powerful was this thing that even the ancient gods couldn't let go of? It was no wonder that the 4 great clans had secluded themselves in Caltrip Mountain. Even if they were not as powerful as the 8 extreme sect and the Mountain and Sea sect, they would still be able to occupy a place in the divine realm. Their prestige and reputation would spread throughout the divine realm. In fact, if the 4 great clans joined forces, even the Mountain and Sea sect and the 8 extreme sect might not be able to compete with them. However, the reason why they had secluded themselves was because of this strange space. They might have been searching for the legendary bead for countless years. Over time, they had secluded themselves in Caltrip Mountain, and no one was able to enter. Gradually, they killed all those who entered as they were afraid that news would spread. Naturally, this place became a land of death in the eyes of the world. Let's go and see what kind of demons and ghosts are here. I don't believe that anyone can stop Master Dog's path, De Huang said arrogantly. He held his head high and made a solemn vow. Long Shisan and the others could not wait any longer. Han Yan's expression was extremely solemn. The aura here is extremely unusual. The demon qi is extremely dense. We have to be careful, Han Yan said in a low voice. He glanced at Jiang Chen and the others as a reminder. Jiang Chen also knew about the strangeness of this place. This place was a battlefield during the ancient times. The army of skeletons had already explained everything. If they did not have the great Yu soul forming light, they would most likely lose their lives. This place was full of dangers and they could not afford to lower their guard. What about him? Lan Lingji glanced at the stone-skinned man and said, I'll send you to reincarnate. Long Shisan held the peerless divine staff in his hand and struck the stone-skinned man to death. His expression was indifferent and his eyes were cold. Being kind to one's enemy was being cruel to oneself. If they were weak, the stone-skinned man would have killed them easily. This was how cruel the world was. The strong preyed on the weak. No one could change this. Jiang Chen and the others quickly entered the ruins of the ancient city. The surrounding walls were dilapidated. The green bricks and stone tiles were shattered. Everywhere was stained with the traces of time. For thousands of years, this place was deserted. Apart from the people of the 4 major clans who came here to search for the so-called lost jewel revered by the gods, no one else could set foot in this place. The surrounding was terrifyingly silent. There were no living creatures in this barren ancient city ruins. There was also no trace of life. There was only an oppressive monstrous demonic aura. Under the protection of Jiang Chen, they were able to survive. Otherwise, this monstrous demonic aura would have made it difficult for them to move. Who is it? How dare you set foot in our territory? On the square in the center of the ancient city ruins, a middle-aged woman with a cold face and spots all over her body said in a deep voice. Her voice was hoarse but incomparably sharp. More than 20 people around her pricked up their ears. Their expressions were solemn as they looked towards the entrance of the ancient city in the east. General Fei Yi, I'll have to trouble you to make a trip there. The middle-aged woman looked towards the void. A man from the Ant-Man clan with 6 wings on his back was looking around cautiously. All right. The man from the Flying Ant clan, who was called General Fei Yi, turned into a stream of light and flew to the top of the void. After a while, General Fei Yi returned with a solemn expression and said in a deep voice, Human experts have entered the ruins of the ancient city. Elder Zabiel of the Earth Spirit clan is dead. General Fei Yi's words made the people of the Earth Spirit clan in the distant ruins turn their heads. What? Elder Zabiel is dead? An old man with stone-like skin like Elder Zabiel shouted in a low voice. His domineering aura was overflowing. He was full of anger. His eyes were like arrows, filled with murderous intent. "It seems that someone wants to invade our territory," the middle-aged woman said with a cold smile. "Our flying ant clan's people have discovered them. However, there are only a few of them. Their strength is not even comparable to Elder Zabiel of the Earth Spirit clan. We thought that Elder Zabiel would be enough to deal with those reckless people. However, we didn't expect that. These people would be so crazy." You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.